Chapter 2787. Book 1, Chapter 232. End of Book 1. Suddenly, many blood-red threads grew out of Ming Tian's chest, wrapping around Zhao Fu's hand that had grabbed into Ming Tian's chest. Ming Tian's corpse gradually became dry and wrinkled. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as boundless evil sword qi entered Zhao Fu's body. A massive aura spread out, causing the surroundings to become quite terrifying. Everyone looked quite confused. The Chaos Sky Evil Sword is choosing its master, and the master it has chosen is Zhao Fu, who had killed its previous master. Zhao Fu could sense this massive evil sword energy, which was no weaker than the Emperor Killing Sword's power. Zhao Fu did not refuse and directly started to absorb it. Rumble, evil sword qi continuously flowed out of Zhao Fu's body, and the evil aura that Zhao Fu gave off became stronger and stronger. His cloak puffed up and terrifying sounds continuously sounded out, causing everyone to feel a chill in their hearts. Everyone present stared at this scene in shock. They had never thought that something like this would happen. The current Chaos Sky Evil Sword legatee had just died, and a new Chaos Sky Evil Sword legatee had immediately appeared. Moreover, it had chosen Zhao Fu. However, everyone thought about how Zhao Fu had defeated Ming Tian and was more powerful than Ming Tian, so it was understandable that the Chaos Sky Evil Sword would acknowledge Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu already had such a terrifying absolute murderous sword intent, and now he had obtained absolute evil sword intent. Just thinking about it made everyone feel terrified. In the future, no one would be able to surpass him in the way of the sword. He would be the number one person in the way of the sword in the outer world. Seventh Sword sighed and felt that it was a pity for Ming Tian's death. In the future, he would have one less opponent to fight against. A genius like Ming Tian should not have died here. Seventh Sword felt quite helpless about Zhao Fu becoming the new Chaos Sky Evil Sword legatee. Zhao Fu was no longer someone he could catch up to, and he could only look up to him. As Ling Hua watched the scene unfold before him, he suddenly realized how lucky and right it was to have met Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's achievements in the future would be unimaginable, and he would not be surprised if he became a sword immortal in the future. Furthermore, Zhao Fu's current status was that of the Demon Dragon clan's young master, and now he was also the Evil Sword's inheritor. It was said that the desolate ancient Dragon clan was about to hold a young master selection. With the Chaos Heaven Evil Sword's support, Zhao Fu was likely to become the desolate ancient Dragon clan's young master, and his status would become even more respected. Jian stared blankly at the scene in front of her. She did not expect Zhao Fu to really kill Tianming. Although she did not like Tianming, she did not have the guts to kill him. Jian admired Zhao Fu's courage and marveled at Zhao Fu's current strength. She did not have the qualifications to compare with Zhao Fu at all. Beast Bai stared at Zhao Fu. At first, he had thought that the Master of Swords would be born between him and Seventh Swordsman, but he had not expected these two monsters to appear. In the end, the battle ended with one person dying. Beast Bai felt that it was a pity, and he was determined not to provoke Zhao Fu. This person was more terrifying than he had imagined. If this person wanted to kill him, no one would be able to stop him. Tai Qingfeng felt a bit scared. If Zhao Fu dared to kill Tianming, then Zhao Fu would definitely dare to kill him as well. Fortunately, he had fought with the mentality of a competition. If it had been a battle to the death like Tianming, he would have died long ago. Boom! The last bit of evil power entered Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu gave off an even more powerful evil aura. A giant demon appeared behind Zhao Fu, giving off a monstrous evil sword aura. It was terrifying. Tianming's corpse on the ground had become a dried-up corpse, and Zhao Fu pulled out his body from his chest, bringing out a gray evil sword. The sword was a meter long and 3 fingers wide. It was gray and seemed to be made of wood or iron. There was no metallic luster at all, and there was an evil demon carved into the hilt. There were many curses on the hilt, and the sword itself was cold and gave off a terrifying evil aura. Zhao Fu accepted the chaotic sky evil sword's power, and his aura became a bit stronger, and there was an evil aura around him. Zhao Fu had wanted to find a sword a long time ago, but he had given up on it for various reasons. Now, he had unexpectedly obtained one, and it was the second-ranked evil sword in the Chaos world. Zhao Fu raised the sword and pointed it at the sky. Roar! The huge demon raised its head to the sky and let out a loud roar, causing an even greater evil storm to blow out in all directions, causing the surroundings to become much colder. Because the stage's barrier had been broken, everyone could clearly sense this evil sword intent. They all looked terrified and their backs became covered with cold sweat. Some people could not help but retreat, unable to withstand this evil aura. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a pleased smile, and tied the chaotic sky evil sword to his waist. The city lord said, "You are the final victor and the master of 10,000 swords. Go and accept the 10,000 swords legacy." Only now did everyone realize that Zhao Fu had not accepted the 10,000 swords legacy yet, which made them even more terrifying. Zhao Fu had already grasped the extreme killing sword intent, and now he had the extreme evil sword intent. If he added on the 10,000 swords legacy, no one dared to imagine what would happen. It was a pity that Tianming had come for the 10,000 swords legacy, but not only had he died, his sword had been taken by someone else, and in the end, the 10,000 swords legacy had become someone else's. However, Zhao Fu was also fulfilling Tianming's wish, which was to fuse the chaotic sky evil sword's power with the 10,000 swords legacy's power. Zhao Fu was quite curious about this. He had also come for the 10,000 swords legacy. Hearing the city lord's words, Zhao Fu walked to the center of the stage. Of the massive stage's 9 levels, only that place was still intact. The other places had long since collapsed or had many cracks. Zhao Fu walked over to the massive sword and sensed its weight and power, as well as the thousands of legacies it contained, feeling incredibly shocked. At that moment, the 10,000 sword mark on Zhao Fu's forehead flashed with light. The light shone on the massive sword. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the massive sword stabbed into the ground, gave off an enormous rainbow-colored sword energy that slowly spread out, pulling everyone into another world. There was no sky or earth in this world, and there were many rainbow-colored sword lights above and below. Different swords floated in different places, and it was impossible to count how many there were. In any case, all that could be seen were swords. The sword energy within everyone's bodies was suppressed, and apart from some extremely powerful people, no one else could resist at all. What's going on? Everyone looked quite confused. This had never happened before. The various experts looked at the city lord. The city lord's expression was incredibly serious as he said, "The 10,000 swords are using the 10,000 sword heart refinement." The beautiful woman in the red dress said in shock, 10,000 sword heart refinement? How is this possible? Chapter 2788. Book 1, Chapter 233. The city lord of 10,000 swords said solemnly, "I don't really believe it either, but this is the 10,000 swords heart refinement. It has appeared twice in the history of the city of 10,000 sword." The handsome young man said in a deep voice, "The first person who underwent the training of the Myriad Swords Heart was the first city master of the Myriad Swords City. The second person who underwent the training of the Myriad Swords Heart was the sixth master of the Myriad Swords. Both of them were world-shaking figures who could shock even gods and ghosts. They had already ascended to the immortal realms, and there was no one in the world who did not know of their names. Especially the sixth lord of 10,000 swords. He single-handedly ended the purgatory calamity and killed the number 1 evil sword master, the purgatory demonic god, saving countless lives. One is the creator of the city of 10,000 swords, while the other is the person who ended the purgatory calamity. This demon dragon young master is from the dragon race. Does he really have the qualifications to compare with them? The white-haired elder said, We can't judge whether he has the qualifications or not. The 10,000 swords will judge for themselves. Moreover, even though this demon-dragon young master is from the dragon race, he has grasped two powerful sword intents. I believe that he has the qualifications to undergo the 10,000 swords heart refinement. The slightly fat man said, The number one evil sword master of the primal chaos world appeared 300 years ago. I have a feeling that the 10,000 swords are going to choose someone to fight against the number one evil sword master. The red-robed woman said seriously, I feel that this makes some sense. After all, the number one evil sword master of the primal chaos world is a fairy who came from the celestial world. He has pure primal chaos immortal blood, and his master is extremely famous in the celestial world. The city lord of 10,000 swords said, Now, let the 10,000 swords handle everything, there's no need for us to interfere. Everyone nodded seriously. The people on the ground did not understand what was going on, but because they were in this world, they could feel their Tao of the sword rapidly rising. They did not cultivate the Tao of the sword, but their cultivations were rising on their own. They immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and began to cultivate. Such a good opportunity was hard to come by, and if they missed it, they would not get it again. As they cultivated, everyone revealed excited smiles because they could feel their Tao of the sword rapidly rising. Zhao Fu stood on the ground, not knowing what was going on. Wasn't he supposed to receive the trial just by standing in front of the enormous sword? Why was there such a change? Clang, clang, clang. At that moment, countless swords gathered above, forming a massive sword formation, and a massive sword aura covered the entire world. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive pillar of sword light containing boundless sword energy descended from above, landing on Zhao Fu's body. The terrifying sword energy permeated Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu to feel intense pain. It was as if his body was being cut by countless swords. Zhao Fu looked up at the sky with a trace of anger. Boom! A massive black and blood-red sword chi surged out from Zhao Fu's body. Strands of terrifying black and blood-red sword intent shot towards the sword formation above with great power. However, as the black and blood-colored sword beams continued to rise, they were weakened by the sword beams. Before they could even reach the sword array, they dissipated. Since he could not attack the sword array, Zhao Fu planned to defend. Countless traces of black and blood-red sword chi covered his head, forming a black and blood-red sword barrier that gave off a massive slaughtering sword intent. However, it was useless. The sword energy from the sword beams completely ignored Zhao Fu's sword barrier and continued to corrode Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu's defense was completely useless. What's going on? This sword energy can't be defended against? Zhao Fu looked quite confused. Boom! The sword formation in the sky gave off an even more powerful sword energy, and it blasted against Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's body to tremble. He took a step back and coughed up a mouthful of blood. The city lord of the 10,000 swords said in shock, This young Lord Demon Dragon's constitution is so powerful. He was only slightly injured after receiving such a massive amount of 10,000 swords power. Ordinary holy sons would be in life-threatening danger after receiving such a massive amount of 10,000 swords power. As Zhao Fu withstood the even more powerful sword intent, his body felt even more pain. Zhao Fu did not believe that he could not defend against it, and his body gave off large amounts of black and blood-red sword chi, followed by large amounts of gray sword chi. This was the first time that Zhao Fu had used the Chaos Sky Evil Sword's power. The two waves of sword chi fused together, forming a blood-red and gray sword barrier. An extremely murderous and evil sword energy spread out, and even the space there was unable to withstand this terrifying sword energy, causing it to distort. However, even such a massive power was unable to defend against that terrifying sword energy, and the massive sword energy continued to corrode Zhao Fu's body. The handsome-looking young man said. Should we remind him that this is Heart Sword's power and that he has to rely on his own heart to defend against it? The city lord of the 10,000 swords said seriously, I've already said that we should not interfere. Even though we're reminding him out of goodwill, it could lead to negative consequences. The 10,000 swords knows what it's doing. Hearing this, the handsome-looking young man did not say anything else. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as an even more powerful sword energy flooded out of the sky, blasting towards Zhao Fu with unstoppable force. Bang! The sword energy blasted against Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's body to sink, and a terrifying shockwave instantly rippled out. Everyone who was cultivating was immediately startled awake and felt as if countless swords were cutting at their flesh. They looked at Zhao Fu. They had only sensed a slight ripple of power, yet they felt so terrified. How could Zhao Fu, who was facing this power head-on, endure it? Zhao Fu was unable to defend against this sword energy, so he started to devour it, fusing the traces of sword energy into his body and into his bloodline. Shing, 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 the massive sword formation above started to spin, and sword hums filled the sky as an extremely terrifying aura spread out. Boom! A massive sword energy containing destructive power blasted down from above. Nothing could stop it, and in front of this power, everyone felt incredibly small and weak. Chi! The massive sword energy landed on Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's body to tremble, and he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Many wounds appeared on his body, from which blood continuously flowed out. The city lord of the 10,000 swords could not help but say in shock, he's actually able to use his body to block such terrifying sword energy. Even ordinary children of origin would find it difficult to endure. The beautiful woman in the red dress said, I don't know why, but I feel that this demon dragon young lord's bloodline power is covered by a layer of mysterious power. Otherwise, I would be able to determine his bloodline grade. Ordinary divine bloodlines do not have such powerful resistance. The elderly man said curiously, I was curious about this demon dragon young lord's identity from the very beginning and felt that his identity was not simple. Now I'm even more curious. Not only does he have supreme killing sword intent, but his bloodline grade is also unfathomable. The handsome-looking man said seriously, after this is over, we need to properly investigate this demon dragon young lord and see just what kind of background he has. Apex. Chapter 2789. Book 1, Chapter 234. Boom. There was a huge roar, and Zhao Fu's body emitted a huge suction force, which swallowed the countless sword powers. Zhao Fu's body was also undergoing a huge change. He was faintly becoming invisible, and an invisible sword power spread out. The city master of 10,000 swords said in surprise, I didn't expect him to use his body to resist the power of the heart sword, and he even swallowed the power of the heart sword to form the divine body of 10,000 swords. The sword powers were constantly being swallowed by Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu's body also emitted many sword lights. The terrible sword momentum also became more powerful. Boom! After swallowing the last of the sword powers, Zhao Fu's body became half invisible, like a human sword. A terrible sword power spread out, and the ground collapsed into a big pit. The sword matrix in the sky also collapsed powerlessly, and the swords fell from the sky quickly. They were stuck around the big pit, trembling slightly, as if they had recognized Zhao Fu as their master. Zhao Fu raised a hand, and the swords stuck in the ground automatically flew up, quickly gathering toward Zhao Fu's palm. As expected, they were under Zhao Fu's control. The handsome man said in shock, he got the divine body of 10,000 swords just like that? That is the strongest body in the city of 10,000 swords. It took 7th Swordsman 8 years to get such a body. I didn't expect him to do it so quickly. 7th Swordsman was also shocked. His 8 years of hard work could not compare to Zhao Fu's half an hour. The beautiful woman in the red dress said, it is not as simple as you say. First, you have to bear that supreme sword power. Ordinary sons of saints cannot bear this kind of sword power. He did it, and then he got the divine body of 10,000 sword. I quite admire him for this. The old man said, now that he has the divine body of 10,000 swords, he also has the ability to control tens of thousands of swords. This kind of ability is no weaker than seventh swordsman's. Clang, 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 sword chimes rang out continuously as the countless swords in the surroundings seemed to be controlled by a powerful sword intent. They rapidly gathered around Zhao Fu and revolved around Zhao Fu. Every sword pointed at Zhao Fu, forming a huge ball of swords that also gave off a terrifying aura. Zhao Fu looked at the scene in front of him, not knowing what to do next. However, although he was surrounded by countless swords, the swords that fell from the sky were still under Zhao Fu's control. Clang! A sword hum suddenly sounded out, and a sword to the left of Zhao Fu gave off a sword light, bringing with it a powerful force as it shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu instinctively stretched out a hand and a wave of power surged out, forming a semicircle cover. Xiao! However, the sword ignored his defenses and easily pierced through the semicircular shield like an illusion. It stabbed into Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's body to feel a wave of pain, and a trickle of blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth. So what? Zhao Fu looked at the countless swords around him with a headache. If there were so many swords piercing through his body, he would definitely die here. Clang! Another sword hum sounded out, and a sword in front of Zhao Fu gave off a sword light, bringing with it a powerful force as it shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu then thought of the flying sword that was under his control and immediately controlled it to collide with the sword that was coming at him. Clang! There was a sound of steel colliding, and the two swords collided, creating many sparks. Both swords flew backwards, but because of this, Zhao Fu was not attacked. Seeing that Zhao Fu had found a way to deal with them, the swords did not hold back. Sword hum continuously sounded out as the swords gave off waves of power as they shot towards Zhao Fu from different directions. They were all incredibly fast, leaving behind afterimages as they streaked past. Zhao Fu immediately controlled the many flying swords around him to collide with the incoming flying swords. The many flying swords collided in the sky, on the ground, left and right, front and back, and clanging sounds continuously sounded out. Sparks exploded out from all around Zhao Fu, and a shocking aura spread out. If a sword was not blocked, that sword would not hesitate to pierce through Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu to bleed. As such, Zhao Fu had to block all of them. Clang, 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 the many swords continued to collide. At first, Zhao Fu was not very proficient, and his body was pierced by a few swords, causing him to take some damage. However, as time passed, Zhao Fu became more proficient. He controlled the many swords around him to form a sword net, blocking all of the incoming swords. However, as Zhao Fu became more proficient in controlling the countless swords, the swords became even more ruthless. The swords started to give off sword light, giving off even more powerful sword energy. Bang! 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 Zhao Fu's swords became powerless to block the incoming swords. When the two swords collided, Zhao Fu's sword was sent flying. Zhao Fu immediately sent power into the many swords he controlled. The swords gave off black and blood-red sword chi, and they gave off a killing aura as they quickly rushed towards the flying swords, once again successfully blocking all of the incoming swords. A large number of swords radiating black and blood-red sword chi and swords radiating sword light continuously clashed against each other, producing a series of sounds as ripples spread out. This only lasted for a moment, and soon, even more swords gave off sword light as they flew towards Zhao Fu. Clang! Clang! The many flying swords that Zhao Fu controlled were unable to block them at all. There were simply too many flying swords, and each of Zhao Fu's flying swords had to block 2 or 3 of them at the same time. Chi! A sword shot towards Zhao Fu from a blind spot, instantly piercing through Zhao Fu's body and causing Zhao Fu to cough up a mouthful of blood. Swish! Another sword shot out from another corner, piercing through Zhao Fu's body and causing Zhao Fu to cough up another mouthful of blood. Zhao Fu felt a wave of fury as he thought about the sword energy that he had devoured. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a rainbow-colored sword energy exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, instantly spreading out like a rainbow-colored barrier of light. It covered the surrounding 100 meters. Immediately, the flying swords within the barrier of light rapidly weakened, and they seemed to be somewhat uncontrollable. Zhao Fu immediately used the 10,000 swords' power to corrode the flying swords and control them, turning them into his flying sword. A large number of flying swords revolved around Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu was like a king of swords as a massive sword aura spread out. Clang! 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 The many swords also gave off their true power as they gave off massive sword light and shot towards Zhao Fu with terrifying power. Bang! 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 The rainbow-colored barrier of light did not last long before being slashed apart. Countless swords gave off massive sword light as they shot towards Zhao Fu from different directions, creating a terrifying scene that shook the surroundings. Zhao Fu's expression changed drastically as he controlled the countless flying swords to fly towards those swords. Swish! Swish! The countless swords around Zhao Fu shot out in all directions, each sword giving off a shocking sword energy as they shot towards the countless flying swords. Chapter 2790. Book 1. The result was a huge difference. The swords with huge sword lights knocked away the countless swords shooting towards Zhao Fu. Pu. A sword emitting red sword light pierced through Zhao Fu's chest and stabbed into Zhao Fu's body. Following that, a sword emitting green sword light pierced through Zhao Fu's body from the back. Another sword emitting black sword light pierced through Zhao Fu's body from the side, and another sword emitting white light pierced through his shoulder. In just an instant, Zhao Fu's body was pierced by tens of swords. These swords were still stuck in Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu sat paralyzed on the ground as fresh blood flowed out continuously. The flying swords that were originally under Zhao Fu's control also fell to the ground powerlessly. A series of crisp sounds rang out. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but ask, did this young Lord Mo Long fail the trial? Some experts looked at the city lord of 10,000 swords. Only he knew about the refinement of 10,000 swords. The city lord of 10,000 swords looked at Zhao Fu with a solemn expression. I'm also not sure about the current situation. But if this space hasn't disappeared, then the trial hasn't ended. Pooh! A sword emitting silver light shot down from the sky once again. Once again, it pierced through Zhao Fu's body, causing fresh blood to splatter everywhere. Clang! Another sword shot down from the sky, piercing through Zhao Fu's body. The speed at which these swords shot down slowed down. Moreover, they fell one by one. There was even a period of time in between, and not all of them fell at once. Zhao Fu sat paralyzed on the ground. His head was drooping and his eyes were closed. His body was pierced by many swords, causing fresh blood to flow to the ground. Under normal circumstances, if Zhao Fu's body was pierced by so many swords, then Zhao Fu might very well die. However, these swords weren't real swords. At this moment, Zhao Fu's consciousness entered a colorful space. This space was similar to the space he was in now, but the area was very small, only a dozen meters wide. This space was not directly created by Zhao Fu. Instead, it was created by condensing all the power of the 10,000 swords under the pain of the swords piercing through his body. Next, it was time for Zhao Fu to display his terrifying devouring power. The swords that were stabbed into Zhao Fu's body started to shatter one by one, transforming into numerous sword qis that flowed into Zhao Fu's body. The sword qis then flowed into the colorful space, causing the colorful space to expand once again. At the same time, swords appeared in the colorful space. These swords were not corporeal. They were just illusory images of sword. The people outside watched strangely as the sword stuck in Zhao Fu's body shattered. No one knew what had happened. Clang, 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 sword hums sounded out as dozens of swords gave off intense sword light and gave off powerful sword energy as they shot towards Zhao Fu, instantly piercing through Zhao Fu's body. The scene from before returned. However, not long after, the swords stuck in Zhao Fu's body shattered once again, transforming into countless sword qis that flowed into Zhao Fu's body. Clang, 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 sword hums sounded out once again as dozens of swords once again gave off sword light and rapidly pierced through Zhao Fu's body. This situation continued for an hour. Everyone watched with strange looks on their faces. They did not understand why the swords had disappeared after piercing through Zhao Fu's body, and why new swords had pierced through Zhao Fu's body. However, the crucial point was that the trial had not failed. The handsome young man said, "City Lord, what's going on? We can't be trapped here, right?" The white-haired old man frowned. "This matter is somewhat strange. I believe that young Master Mo Long has already failed, so why hasn't the trial ended?" The red-robed woman said, "I don't think it's that simple. The myriad sword heart refinement has only been done twice, and the previous two were peerless geniuses. Since the myriad swords refinement has chosen him for the third time, he won't fail so easily this time." Everyone looked at the city lord, wanting to get an accurate answer. The city lord said in a deep voice, "There's no need to be anxious, he's about to pass this trial." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Wasn't Zhao Fu's body continuously pierced by swords? He looked like he was dead, so why was he about to pass the trial? Clang, 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 loud sword hums sounded out. This time, it wasn't dozens of swords, but hundreds of swords that gave off intense sword light and shot towards Zhao Fu with even greater sword force. The terrifying aura caused everyone's hairs to stand on end, and fear rose in their hearts. Just as the swords were about to pierce through Zhao Fu's body, Zhao Fu slowly raised his head. His chest gave off countless rainbow-colored lights, and the countless flying swords shot into it. However, they did not cause any damage, and it was as if they had flown into another space. Everyone's expressions froze, and they felt that there was an additional space within Zhao Fu's body. "What's going on?" Clang, 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 even louder sword hums sounded out, and the swords that filled the sky gave off terrifying sword light, enveloping the entire sky. The terrifying aura caused everyone's hands and feet to turn cold. Boom! Countless flying swords surged towards Zhao Fu like a tidal wave. That terrifying power was unstoppable. The aura spread in all directions. Zhao Fu's body gave off intense rainbow-colored lights, and the countless swords that surged over seemed to have found an opening, and they quickly surged into Zhao Fu's body. In the end, there was not a single sword within a radius of tens of thousands of meters, and it became an empty space. At that moment, Zhao Fu slowly opened his eyes, and countless rainbow-colored sword lights shot out. An astonishing and terrifying sword force instantly spread out, enveloping this space. Everyone looked at Zhao Fu in shock, and they felt that Zhao Fu was the master of this space. Zhao Fu stood up from the ground. The heart sword space within his body had become very large, and it was the limit that Zhao Fu's body could endure. However, compared to this space, it was still relatively small. However, now that Zhao Fu's body had produced a heart sword space, and his myriad sword divine body had improved, he did not have to worry about those flying swords. Now, those flying swords were no longer able to harm Zhao Fu. Clang, 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 loud sword hums reverberated through the entire space. Countless swords gathered towards Zhao Fu, and then they descended, stabbing into the ground beside Zhao Fu. That scene was like a huge rain of swords. Countless swords stabbed into the ground beside Zhao Fu, and they were so densely packed that they couldn't be counted. With a single glance, one couldn't see the end of the swords. This scene was extremely shocking. A new myriad sword heart realm has been born in his body, and now, the myriad sword heart realm has obtained the inheritance. Next, he will obtain the purest and complete myriad sword inheritance, and he will become the third strongest sword cultivator in the history of the City of Myriad Swords. Hearing this, everyone looked at Zhao Fu in shock. Before they could understand what was going on, Zhao Fu had already passed the trial, and even inherited a portion of the Myriad Sword Heart Realm's power. The Myriad Sword inheritance that Zhao Fu obtained this time was the most top-notch, the most complete, and the most powerful inheritance. Its power far surpassed the inheritance obtained by the Myriad Sword Sovereign, and it allowed him to grasp the origin power of the Myriad Swords. Chapter 2791. Book 1, Seal. At that moment, Zhao Fu sat cross-legged on the ground and slowly closed his eyes. He crossed his arms in front of him, and the countless swords stabbed into the ground around Zhao Fu slightly trembled and gave off different sword lights. Suddenly, the scene around Zhao Fu started to change. Magma flowed out of the ground, forming a boundless ocean of magma, and the sky above him became a fiery red color. Zhao Fu sat cross-legged at the center of the magma ocean, and the magma around him bubbled and gave off white smoke. It was as if his surroundings had become a different world, a world filled with magma. The heat it gave off seemed to be able to burn rock. Even those in the distance could sense this heat, and they could sense a terrifying sword intent that seemed to be like magma, causing them to feel fear. Zhao Fu sat there cross-legged and was not affected at all. Time gradually passed, and Zhao Fu's body was covered by a fiery light. Traces of fiery sword chi floated out of the surrounding magma and flew into Zhao Fu's body. A while later, the fiery light covering Zhao Fu became even more intense, and even more fiery sword chi flowed into Zhao Fu's body. Magma flowed out of Zhao Fu's body, and his body seemed to become a part of the magma, giving off a magma-like sword intent. The scene around him gradually disappeared, and the scene of a forest gradually appeared next to Zhao Fu. The trees there were dark gray and were abnormally tall. Each of them was over 100 meters tall, and they had very few branches. Zhao Fu sat at the center of these trees. Zhao Fu's body quickly fused with his surroundings, and his aura also became the same. Slowly, Zhao Fu's body once again went through changes. A few dark gray trees grew out of his body, giving off a powerful tree sword intent. The surroundings quickly changed, and the place where Zhao Fu was sitting became a layer of ice. There were tall, snowy mountains around him, and the sky became gray-white. It was as if he had come to a world of ice, giving off a bone-piercing chill. Sitting cross-legged on the ice, Zhao Fu's body was gradually frozen, and he became an ice statue that gave off traces of icy chi. However, in just a short while, the ice that sealed Zhao Fu turned into cold air and dissipated, and the scene around him started to change. Roar! Roar! Roars sounded out, and Zhao Fu appeared on a vast grassy plain. There were many red lions, and when they saw Zhao Fu sitting there, they quickly ran over. They gathered around Zhao Fu and did not harm Zhao Fu. It was as if Zhao Fu was very close to them, and he was also a lion. Some of them intimately rubbed against Zhao Fu's body, some lay beside Zhao Fu, and some walked around Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's body also slowly changed, and a part of his body started to become a part of a lion. A ferocious sword aura spread out like that of a wild beast. Very quickly, the scene around Zhao Fu changed again. Everyone watched in shock as the scene around Zhao Fu kept changing. At first, it was very slow, but then it became faster and faster. The scene changed every few minutes, and the sword aura that Zhao Fu's body gave off became more and more terrifying. In the end, the scenery around Zhao Fu changed every few seconds, and it was as if someone had pressed the acceleration button. The scenery continuously changed, and no matter what happened, the only thing that didn't change was Zhao Fu, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. Zhao Fu kept sitting there. Sometimes his body would grow flowers, sometimes it would turn into stone, and sometimes it would grow a bull's head, sometimes it would grow wings, sometimes it would turn into water, and sometimes it would be like the sun, giving off many rays of light. Boom! The scene around them returned to how it was before, and an ultimate sword energy exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, instantly covering this space. Everyone felt as if their bodies were being pressed down by a massive sword. Facing this sword energy, they were unable to resist at all, and their bodies and souls submitted to this terrifying sword energy. This sword energy was the sovereign sword energy, and its might was not any weaker than the Chaos Sky Evil Sword and Emperor Killing Sword's power. That sword intent was also a sovereign sword intent, and it was like an emperor of swords, able to make all swords submit. It was a sword intent on the same level as the extreme killing sword intent and extreme evil sword intent. The city lord said in shock, "I never thought that I would be able to see the city of 10,000 swords sovereign sword intent in my lifetime." The handsome young man said in shock, "Is this the city of 10,000 swords most powerful sword intent? It's simply too shocking. No wonder the first city lord and sixth master of 10,000 swords had world-shaking power. With this sword intent, they would not even have to fear celestials in the future." The slightly chubby young man said in delight, "Our city of 10,000 swords has such terrifying power, and I'm quite proud of it. It's a pity that not everyone has the right to have this power." The white-haired elder sighed as he said, "It's a pity that it's not the city of 10,000 swords young master seventh sword who obtained this power, but the demon dragon young master." The beautiful woman in the red dress said, "How about we think of a way to get him to join our city of 10,000 swords? As the third person to unlock the 10,000 swords heart, his future potential is unimaginable." The slightly chubby young man nodded in agreement. "I think it's possible. We cannot miss out on such a person. I want him to become the city lord of 10,000 swords in the future. With his current status, no one will have any objections." The city lord said in a low voice, "If he's willing to join the city of 10,000 swords, I don't mind giving him the position of city lord right now. As the third person to unlock the 10,000 swords heart, he has the right to do so. However, he's someone from the demon dragon bloodline, and after the desolate ancient dragon race finds out about this, they definitely won't give up on him." The beautiful woman in the red dress said, "Let's see how things develop first. Our city of 10,000 swords hearts people have to do our best to maintain a good relationship with him, and not become enemies with him." The others nodded in agreement. Clang, 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 countless swords rang out, and the countless swords that were stuck in the ground began to tremble and make countless sword sounds. The swords were all happy and excited because the 10,000 swords heart had won a new master. Countless sword lights radiated from the void, and a sword made of crystal slowly appeared in front of Zhao Fu. The sword was more than 3 feet long, and the sword was as wide as a finger. It was made of crystal, and the body of the sword had many diamond-shaped surfaces. Each of the diamond-shaped surfaces contained a wisp of sword chi, and each sword chi radiated light, causing the body of the sword to be colorful. The handguard was very ordinary, and the handle seemed to be made of many small swords. The sword in front of Zhao Fu was called the Spirit of the 10,000 Swords. It was a sword heart condensed from the giant sword that was stuck in the platform. It required countless years of nurturing before it could be born. There were probably only 3 of them at the moment, because only those who had passed the 10,000 Swords heart were qualified to obtain them. The spirit of the 10,000 Swords heart was also very strange. It would grow stronger with its master, and it would also collapse because of its master's death. Chapter 2792. Book 1. Chapter 237 translated by Hypersheep 325 edited by Meiker. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and grabbed the 10,000 sword spirit. The surrounding space gradually dissipated, and everyone returned to the shattered stage. Everyone thought that things had come to an end when something unexpected happened again. Boom! A shocking explosion rang out as the 3 supreme sword intents within Zhao Fu's body went out of control and instantly exploded out from Zhao Fu's body. They turned into a massive sword pillar that shot into the sky with heaven-toppling sword energy, seeming to pierce through the sky. Bang! The massive sword pillar stabbed into the sky, and waves of terrifying sword energy ripples spread out with power that seemed to be able to sweep through everything. The heavens and earth seemed to be locked down by this power. Supreme sword intent, supreme killing sword intent, and supreme evil sword intent covered the surroundings, causing all living beings to feel fear. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Under these three sword intents, everyone felt as if their bodies had fallen into a bottomless abyss, and they felt an unprecedented terror. This sword intent was so powerful that it surpassed their imaginations. They had never sensed a sword intent of such a level before. It was not just the countless ordinary people who were shocked. Many experts were also shocked. This was the first time they had sensed such a terrifying sword intent. Indeed, almost no one had ever experienced such a terrifying sword intent before, because these were three supreme sword intent. Every single one of them had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Being able to see one was already a blessing, let alone seeing three at the same time. What's more, all three sword intents belonged to a single person. The expressions of the people in the surroundings fell, and they hurriedly rushed out of their rooms. Massive sword ripples spread out, bringing with them an extremely powerful sword energy. What's going on? How could there be such terrifying sword intent ripples? This sword energy is too terrifying. I've never sensed such a terrifying sword intent before. Even immortals wouldn't be able to possess such a sword intent. That's right, the power of this sword energy has already surpassed that of the current world. Even the heavens and earth are suppressed by this sword energy. I'm curious what kind of sword energy this is, and why have I never heard of such a powerful sword intent before? I sensed three different auras from this sword power. This sword power is formed by the combination of three supreme sword intents. Normally, it is rare to see even one supreme sword intent. Why did three supreme sword intents suddenly appear? Something terrifying must have happened. I also feel that something shocking has happened, or else it wouldn't have caused such terrifying ripples. In front of this sword intent, even higher beings are like ants. The ripples seem to be coming from the city of 10,000 swords. I heard that they're holding the trial of the 10,000 swords master. Could this be related to the city of 10,000 swords? I think it's related to the city of 10,000 swords. The city of 10,000 swords is a holy land for sword cultivators and might attract people with supreme sword intings. It's a pity that I did not go, or I would have been able. Many experts of the desolate ancient dragon clan looked at the sky solemnly. The city of 10,000 swords was not far from the dragon's territory. The entire dragon's territory was enveloped by a terrifying sword intent. For 1, 1 and 1, 1, 1 and 1 and Chun a emperor a the fu out. Chun 1 ancient Chun dragon. A white-robed elder, who gave off a holy aura, said seriously, "That's right, only those who have opened the 10,000 swords heart can grasp the city of 10,000 swords supreme sword intent. I've long since heard that the city of 10,000 swords sword intent is very powerful, and seeing it for the first time today, it is indeed extraordinary." A blue-robed elder with a single horn on his head said worriedly, "The city of 10,000 swords has most likely given birth to a peerless genius in the way of the sword. Just thinking about the first 10,000 swords city lord and the sixth 10,000 swords master makes me feel incredibly uneasy. I wonder when Dragon Voidless will be able to suppress him." A blue-robed elder with a green beard said seriously, "That's right, only those who have opened the 10,000 swords heart for the third time will be able to grasp the city of 10,000 swords supreme sword intent. I've long since heard that the city of 10,000 swords supreme sword intent is very powerful, and seeing it for the first time today, it is indeed extraordinary." A blue-robed elder with a single horn on his head said worriedly, The city of 10,000 swords has most likely given birth to a peerless genius in the way of the sword. Just thinking about the first 10,000 swords city lord and the sixth 10,000 swords master makes one feel incredibly uneasy. I wonder when Dragon Voidless will be able to suppress him. The blue-robed elder sighed. The city of 10,000 swords will welcome new glory. If Dragon Voidless is inferior to him, our clan will have to avoid the city of 10,000 swords as much as possible. The blue-robed elder nodded in agreement. The city of 10,000 swords is a holy land for sword cultivators, and it's not weaker than the primordial dragon clan at all. Adding on the fact that such a terrifying person has appeared, we can't afford to offend them. The dignified-looking elder said, "Don't be so pessimistic. Even though the person who has opened the 33rd 10,000 swords heart is terrifying, as long as Dragon Voidless obtains the primordial dragon clan's legacy and has the primordial dragon star, he shouldn't be any weaker than that person." An elder with silver dragon horns and short silver hair said, "There are 3 supreme sword intents. One is the 10,000 swords intent, while the other is filled with an extremely evil power. It seems to be the chaotic sky evil swords sword intent. I never thought that the chaotic sky evil swords inheritor would appear." The dignified-looking elder said, "Apart from the 10,000 swords intent and the chaotic sky evil sword intent, there's also a killing sword intent. I've never seen this sword intent before, so I don't know what it is." A purple-robed elder with a purple face said, "Have the people we sent out returned yet? I want to know what has caused these 3 supreme sword intents to cause such great ripples." "What?" An extremely shocked voice sounded out. A few experts from the Dragon Clan were conversing in different places, and hearing this voice, they felt quite confused. How could experts of their level be so shocked? The silver-horned elder asked, "Did something happen?" The blue-robed elder calmed his surging emotions and said, "I have something extremely important to tell you all." The dignified-looking elder said, "Speak. What happened? Why are you so shocked?" The green-robed elder said seriously, "The person who opened the third 10,000 swords heart is the Demon Dragon Clan's young master." "What?" The elders looked incredibly shocked, and they felt a massive impact in their hearts. They never would have thought that the person they feared was someone from the Dragon Clan. One of the other experts, who had been about to drink a mouthful of tea, spat it out, stumbled and almost fell to the ground, dropped the book in his hand, and stood dumbfounded. The surroundings fell silent, and only after a while did everyone come back to their senses. The dignified-looking elder hurriedly asked, "Is this true? Someone from the primordial dragon clan can actually open the third 10,000 swords heart?" Chapter 2793. Book 1, Chapter 238. The green-haired elder said seriously, "It's definitely true. The news has already spread that our Demon Dragon Clan's young master has opened the city of 10,000 swords third refinement of the 10,000 swords heart. Not only that, but he has also defeated the Chaotic Sky Evil Sword's descendant and become the new Chaotic Sky Evil Sword's descendant. This terrifying ripple was caused by him." Hearing this, everyone fell into shock. They had felt that this was inconceivable, but now that the truth was in front of them, they had no choice but to believe it. The silver-horned elder said, "I've long since heard that the Demon Dragon Clan's young master is not simple. After such a long time, the dragon egg hatched, and he's the strongest competitor for the position of desolate ancient Dragon Clan's young master. Who would have thought that he would become the lord of 10,000 swords and grasp 3 supreme sword intents?" A black-clothed elder chuckled as he said, "Apologies everyone, but a peerless genius of the way of the sword has appeared in my bloodline. This has shocked me greatly." He was an expert of the demon dragon bloodline, and for such a powerful person to appear in his bloodline was a joyous occasion for the demon dragon bloodline. He would definitely be very happy. Just by relying on these 3 supreme sword intents, he would definitely not be weaker than Long Voidless. Even if they were to compete in Dragon Force, Long Voidless had the desolate ancient dragon star, so he had a slight advantage. However, even if Zhao Fu could not become the Dragon Clan's young master, just his identity of having opened the City of 10,000 Swords' third refinement of the 10,000 Swords was enough for him to stand on equal footing with the Dragon Clan's young master. The white-robed elder lightly harumphed. "Congratulations! Such a shocking genius of the way of the sword has appeared in your bloodline. This is very enviable, and it means a lot to our desolate ancient Dragon Clan." The green-haired elder laughed as he said, "Before, we were quite afraid of the person who opened the 10,000 Swords' third refinement of the way of the sword. Who would have thought that it would be someone from our Dragon Clan? Now we don't have to worry at all." The dignified elder said, "We've all underestimated him." The blue-clothed elder said, "This demon dragon young master's origins have always been a mystery. What's clear now is that he's Long Wushui's successor." The black-clothed old man said, "We asked him about his identity before, but he was unwilling to tell us, so we did not force him. No matter who he is, he already has a pure demon dragon bloodline, and he is also the demon dragon young master." The dignified elder said seriously, "Now, it seems that his identity is becoming more and more extraordinary." The green-clothed elder smiled. "No matter what his identity is, he is now a member of our desolate ancient dragon race. We must support him with all our might." The dignified old man nodded. "That's right. I reckon that the people of the City of 10,000 Swords are frantically trying to get him to join them." The news spread throughout the Dragonland, and countless people fell into shock. Long Yunyun happily jumped up. "Young Master is really too strong. I really like Young Master, I really worship Young Master." Long Qin smiled and said, "Young Master has surprised us. We thought that he was just going out for a while. We didn't expect that he would cause such a big thing. Our Dragon Palace will become more noble and powerful with Young Master in the future. We will be worshipped by the Dragon Tribe." Long San chuckled and said, "Our master really has a good eye." The successor he chose not only became the Demon Dragon's young master, but also the master of 10,000 swords. Within the Dragon God Dragon Bloodline's Dragon Palace, Long Hao said in shock, "This Demon Dragon's young master was hiding such terrifying sword strength. I really couldn't tell before, but if we compete in the sword, none of the dragon race will be a match for him." Long Huiling's expression was grim. Things had exceeded her expectations one after another, completely disrupting her plans. Now, it was almost impossible for her to become the desolate ancient dragon race's young master. Long Hao looked at Long Huiling and asked, "Young master, what should we do now?" Long Huiling sighed and said, "Forget it. There's no need to do anything, there's no point in doing anything." Long Hao wanted to encourage Long Huiling, as she still had a chance. However, thinking about Zhao Fu's terrifying strength, he could not help but sigh and understand that their young master could no longer compete with Zhao Fu. The desolate ancient wood dragon's young master, Long Qinghong, had a worried look on his face. He understood that Long Huiling had lost her chance. The desolate ancient water dragon's young master, Long Sui, said in fear, "This demon dragon's young master is too terrifying. Luckily, I didn't foolishly provoke him, or else the consequences would have been dire." The desolate ancient thunder dragon's young master, Long Lang, had an unsightly expression. The demon dragon's young master was a great threat to him, and he did not have any confidence in himself. He felt that he was no longer a match for the demon dragon's young master. Long Shiwu fell silent and continued to cultivate. There was no point in saying anything now. The desolate ancient dragon race's young master selection was about to begin, and strength was the most important thing. Perhaps he could not compare to the demon dragon's young master in the way of the sword, but he definitely could not lose in terms of dragon power. Finally, his gaze turned back to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at the sky in shock and knew that the reason for this change was that the 10,000 sword intent wanted to fuse the other two sword intents to form a higher grade sword intent. The 10,000 sword intent, Chaos Heaven sword intent, and Killing sword intent fused together would be incredibly powerful and could destroy yin and yang, making even celestials fear it. However, the key point was that Zhao Fu might not be able to control this sword intent because he did not have a deep understanding of it. If he had this sword intent, he would lose control and cause unknown consequences. More importantly, if he lost control of the sword intent now, Zhao Fu's identity would be exposed. Boom! A world-rending sound rang out as the three sword intents started to fuse. An extraordinary destructive sword energy spread out, causing many cracks to appear in the air. The heavens and earth were unable to withstand this sword energy. Everyone was shocked and felt an even more intense fear, causing their bodies and souls to tremble. Without hesitation, Zhao Fu circulated his power and started to suppress the power of the three sword intents, preventing them from fusing and not allowing that supreme sword intent to appear. The three sword intents were suppressed and their power started to weaken. The giant sword pillar also dimmed. Zhao Fu was still the owner of the three sword intents, and they were under Zhao Fu's control. The sword pillar's power continued to weaken and the terrifying ripples also weakened. The surrounding abnormal signs also gradually disappeared. Many experts were stunned. They were looking forward to the fusion of the three sword intents and wanted to know what kind of terrifying sword intent would be born. Why was Zhao Fu suppressing the three sword intents? You don't want that extremely terrifying sword intent? In the end, the sword pillar disappeared, and so did the surrounding abnormal signs. Everyone recovered from their shock and looked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu tied the 10,000 sword spirits to his waist and walked down the platform. Now that he had achieved his goal, the 10,000 sword intent was extremely powerful and exceeded Zhao Fu's expectations. Zhao Fu was very satisfied with this sword intent and was very satisfied with Zhao Fu. There was also the 10,000 sword domain, which Zhao Fu had automatically grasped. This was actually quite simple and could be comprehended in the first few levels. Chapter 2794. Book 1, Chapter 239. Seeing Zhao Fu walk over, Ling Hua smiled and said, "Congratulations on becoming the master of all swords, Brother Tianba." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. The female Jian'er looked at Zhao Fu and thought for a moment before saying, "Congratulations." Now that Zhao Fu had 3 sword wills and was someone who had unlocked the 30,000 sword hearts, his status was much higher than hers. She no longer had the right to compare herself to Zhao Fu. She had seen Zhao Fu's power with her own eyes, and she was very impressed. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, "No need. Didn't you tell me to quit earlier?" The female Jian'er explained, "Who knew that you were hiding such powerful sword power? If I had known, I would definitely have supported you." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "All right." The female Jian'er asked curiously, "What is that sword will that is filled with killing intent?" "It's not any weaker than the heavenly chaos sword will. I've never heard of such a sword will before." Ling Hua also looked at Zhao Fu curiously. He was also very interested in this sword will. Zhao Fu replied, "This is my secret. I can't tell you." The female Jian'er asked unwillingly, "You won't even tell me your name?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, Perhaps you'll know when we meet again." Hearing this, the female Jian'er felt a bit disappointed. 7th swordsman came before Zhao Fu and said, "Congratulations on becoming the master of all swords. I also acknowledge your power. Can I ask you to comprehend sword will in the future?" Zhao Fu felt that he did not have a deep understanding of sword will. Whether it was the killing sword or the sword will of all swords, he had only grasped it. If he reached a certain level of mastery over sword will, he would be able to fuse 3 sword wills together and obtain an even more terrifying sword will. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "No problem. Ling Hua smiled and said, I also want to comprehend sword will with Brother Tianba. You won't refuse, right? Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Jian Er looked at Zhao Fu and asked, Can I do it too? Right now, Zhao Fu had grasped 3 types of supreme sword intents. If he could obtain 3 shocking treasures from Zhao Fu, he would be able to obtain many great benefits from him. Zhao Fu said, No matter who it is, as long as I'm free. The city lord of 10,000 swords flew down. 7th swordsman and the others immediately bowed. The city master of Wanjian City was a half-celestial being. No matter where he went, he was a very terrifying person. Zhao Fu followed suit and bowed. At the same time, he became nervous, afraid that he would be exposed. In the past, Zhao Fu's immortal concealment token could only stop the prying of great experts. It could not stop terrifying existences like half-immortals. Fortunately, Zhao Fu had obtained the wizard spirit mask in the past. Thus, he could avoid the prying of half-immortals. Even so, Zhao Fu was still a little worried. The 10,000 Swords City Lord smiled and said in a gentle tone, No need to be so polite. The other experts landed on the ground, and their gazes fell on Zhao Fu's body. It was as if Zhao Fu was shining with golden light. The City Lord of 10,000 Swords City looked at Zhao Fu and said, I want you to join the City of 10,000 Swords. From now on, you will be the City Lord of 10,000 Swords City. When the ordinary people heard this, they went into an uproar. The City Lord of 10,000 Swords City had abdicated his position and let the Demon Dragon Young Master become the City Lord of 10,000 Swords City. This was like ascending to the heavens in a single step and grasping the greatest power in the primal chaos world. Countless people could not even dream of this. However, Zhao Fu was not tempted. He understood his identity. Moreover, he was not someone from the primal chaos world. Moreover, Zhao Fu was very happy to be the young master of some faction. Being a young master in name would not affect him at all. However, Zhao Fu was not very willing to become the leader of a faction. This would be very troublesome. Zhao Fu said apologetically, I'm sorry, I don't have that intention. The City Lord of 10,000 Swords City was not surprised. He smiled and said, It's okay. Whenever you want to, the City of 10,000 Swords will always welcome you. Zhao Fu asked curiously, Why do you want me to become the City Lord of 10,000 Swords? The City Lord of 10,000 Swords City explained with a smile, As the person who opened the 3rd level of the training of the Heart of 10,000 Swords, your reputation has already surpassed mine. In the future, even if your achievements are not as strong as the previous 2, you will definitely far surpass me. Under your leadership, the City of 10,000 Swords will become even better. Actually, regardless of whether you refuse or accept, you have become the City Lord of 10,000 Swords and have grasped the sword spirit. You are already considered a member of the City of 10,000 Swords. Zhao Fu did not care about this. After all, Zhao Fu had obtained countless legacies, and those factions were all related to Zhao Fu. When 7th Swordsman heard this, he did not have any other thoughts. This was because not only had Zhao Fu become the City Lord of 10,000 Swords, but he had also opened the training of the Heart of 10,000 Swords. The handsome young man said, I'm curious, why did you stop the 3 sword wills from fusing? If the sword wills fuse, it is very likely that a sword will that surpasses the chaotic world will be born, and it might even shock the celestial realm. Many cultivators also looked at Zhao Fu. They all felt that this was very strange. Zhao Fu's refusal to fuse the 3 sword wills made them feel quite disappointed. They really wanted to witness that ultimate sword will with their own eyes. Zhao Fu explained softly, Right now, my understanding of the sword will is not deep enough. I am still unable to control that sword will. I see, the handsome young man said with a smile. From now on, if you have any questions about the sword will, you can ask me. I will answer them one by one in detail. The beautiful woman in the red dress also smiled and said, "You can also find me. I am also free to answer your questions about the sword way at any time." The others also spoke up one after another. Almost all of them wanted to establish a relationship with Zhao Fu. This scene was very rare, as these people were all almighties who had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. "Thank you," the 10,000 Swords City Lord said. "Also, since you killed that Ming Tian, your identity might not be simple. If you have any trouble in the future, you can come to the 10,000 Swords City. We will do our best to protect you." The Chaos Sky Evil Sword was the second-ranked evil sword, and Ming Tian's talent was extremely high. His identity might be very terrifying, and now that he had died at Zhao Fu's hands, it would be very troublesome. The 10,000 Swords City decided to protect Zhao Fu for no particular reason other than that Zhao Fu was someone who had opened the third 10,000 Sword Heart refining technique. The 10,000 Swords City's people believed that everything they did was worth it. However, Zhao Fu did not mind too much. After obtaining the desolate ancient dragon race's legacy, he almost never came to this place again. With the boundless heaven's secrets protecting him, no one would be able to find him. Zhao Fu felt quite grateful towards the 10,000 Swords City and smiled as he said, I understand." The 10,000 Swords City Lord continued, "There's also the matter of the first evil sword. Back then, the 6th 10,000 Swords Master personally killed the first evil swords master, resulting in a great enmity. Perhaps the first evil sword's successor will come to take revenge on you." The first evil sword? Zhao Fu looked quite confused. This was his first time coming to the 10,000 Swords City, so he did not know much about it. The 10,000 Swords City Lord gave a simple explanation, and only then did Zhao Fu understand that there was such a terrifying opponent. However, with Zhao Fu's talent and power, no matter who came, Zhao Fu would not fear them. Moreover, he had defeated the Celestial Fairy before, and he had not been as powerful back then. Chapter 2795. Book 1. Chapter 240 translated by Hypersheep 325 edited by Mikeir. After finishing his conversation with the City Lord, Zhao Fu continued down, preparing to return to the Dragon Territory. Long Xing, who had been waiting for a long time, said respectfully, "Congratulations, young master." This time, Long Xing had brought Zhao Fu to obtain the 10,000 sword domain, but he had never thought that Zhao Fu would have such shocking talent in the way of the sword and become the lord of the 10,000 swords. Most importantly, he had a connection with a powerful person like the Demon Dragon Clan's young master. In the future, his status would also rise, and this was an opportunity that others could not even dream of. He had never thought that it would fall into his hands, so Long Xing was naturally extremely excited. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded as he threw a storage ring to him. "This is your reward." Long Xing respectfully bowed. "Thank you, young master." Feng Yao brought the people from the Cool Wind sword sect to Zhao Fu and said with a smile, "Congratulations, young master." The others looked at Zhao Fu excitedly. This person in front of them was the Lord of the 10,000 Swords, a shocking genius in the way of the sword. He was someone that they could not normally come into contact with. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Feng Yao smiled and said, "Young master, I want to go back to the Cool Wind sword sect and take care of some matters before coming to serve you." Zhao Fu replied, and Zhao Fu led the people down, and the sea of people moved to the sides, making a path for them. Countless people looked at Zhao Fu excitedly. 2 hours later, Zhao Fu and Feng Yao arrived at the entrance of the Cool Wind sword sect. Zhao Fu had originally planned to return to the Dragon Territory, but he had never thought that he would be going the same way as Feng Yao, so he had come to take a look. The Cool Wind sword sect was a small sect with roughly 10,000 people, and it was located on a tall mountain. The Cool Wind sword sect's entrance was like a mansion gate, and there were 4 disciples standing at the entrance. Seeing Feng Yao return, the disciples smiled and asked, "How was it, eldest senior sister? Did you get the complete Cool Wind Sword Sect legacy?" Feng Yao nodded with a smile. "Go back and tell the sect master that I have something urgent to discuss with him." Hearing this, the disciples happily nodded and quickly turned around to return to the sect. Now that they had the complete inheritance of the Cool Breeze Sword Sect, this was a very good thing. In the future, their strength would also become much stronger. Song of Wind and the others also walked in with smiles on their faces. When they arrived at the hall, many elders of the Breeze Sword faction were already gathered there, looking at Feng Yao with smiles on their faces. The leader was a middle-aged, scholarly man. He was the sect master of the Cool Wind Sword School, Feng Beiming. Feng Beiming smiled as he asked with certainty, "Feng Yao, did you really return to the Cool Wind Sword School's legacy?" Feng Yao replied with a smile. "Yes, sect master." Next, Feng Yao took out a cyan orb, which emitted a clear wind sword energy. Seeing the azure orb, Feng Beiming and the other elders relaxed and gave happy smiles. Feng Beiming said, "Feng Yao, you've done a great service this time. If nothing unexpected happens, you'll be the next sect master of the Cool Wind Sword School." Feng Yao lightly laughed as she said, "Sect master? I might not be able to become the next sect master, but I've already become young Master Mo Long's female attendant." Young Master Mo Long? Feng Beiming and the others looked quite surprised. Feng Yao smiled as she said, "The person beside me is young Master Mo Long, the current master of 10,000 swords." Immediately, Feng Beiming and the others looked at Zhao Fu in shock. Their small sect had received news that this generation's master of 10,000 swords was extremely terrifying. He had opened the third 10,000 sword heart tempering in the city of 10,000 swords, and his status was extremely noble. However, they never thought that the master of 10,000 swords would appear in front of them. Feng Beiming and the others immediately became respectful and even bowed towards Zhao Fu. It was as if they could not offend an existence like Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu calmly said, "I'm just taking a look and then taking Song of Wind away." Now, no one objected to this and instead fully supported it. After all, with a powerful backer like the master of 10,000 swords, who would dare to offend them in the future? Feng Beiming smiled as he said, "Young Master Mo Long, please sit for a while. We'll immediately prepare a banquet to entertain you." Zhao Fu said, "No need, I'll be leaving soon." Feng Beiming did not dare to insist and smiled as he said, "Then I'll have to ask young Master Mo Long to wait for a while." Zhao Fu nodded and sat by the side. Feng Beiming and the other elders called Feng Yao and the others to the side and told them what had happened. When they found out that Zhao Fu had grasped the Clear Wind Sword Sect's highest sword intent and had even defeated a genius of the Way of the Sword, they were in disbelief. Was this really the power of their Clear Wind Sword Sect? Was it really that powerful? They quickly came to a decision. Not only did they want to restore the Clear Wind Sword Sect's legacy, but they also wanted Zhao Fu to pour in a portion of the Clear Wind Sword Sect's sword intent. This would greatly increase the Clear Wind Sword Sect's legacy. They left this matter to Song of Wind. They did not have the ability to ask Zhao Fu to do it. Song of Wind walked over and told Zhao Fu about this matter. This was a small matter, so Zhao Fu directly agreed. Feng Beiming and the others immediately thanked Zhao Fu. Following this, they came to the Clear Wind Sword Sect's legacy ground. The legacy ground was located on a stone platform on a mountain peak. At the center was a 10 or so meter tall statue of an old man holding a sword, and it looked like it was fluttering in the wind. Feng Beiming took out an azure orb and threw it forward. The azure orb turned into a ray of light and shot into the statue. The statue gave off a faint azure light, and a cool breeze started to blow in the surroundings. The statue was currently restoring the Clear Wind Sword Sect's legacy. Gradually, the azure light that the statue gave off became stronger and stronger, and the wind became stronger and stronger. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the statue gave off boundless azure light, covering the entire sky. A massive wave of legacy power flowed out and flowed towards the ground below. The clear wind sword sex people felt a wave of power enter their bodies, and the power within their bodies gradually became stronger. They all revealed delighted smiles. The azure light that the statue gave off quickly weakened. Feng Beiming bowed to Zhao Fu and said, "I'll have to trouble young Master Mo Long to inject the clear wind sword intent into it." Zhao Fu walked in front of the statue and pointed out with his sword, causing a massive gust of wind to flow towards the statue. Feeling this powerful ripple, everyone felt quite startled. The statue absorbed the gust of wind, and the azure light it gave off became even more intense. The clear wind sword sex people felt a powerful sword energy enter their bodies, causing their strength to quickly increase, and their auras to become slightly sharper. Feng Beiming and the others felt the change in their strength and happily smiled. Moreover, with this clear wind sword intent, they might be able to break away from their status as small sects and become slightly larger mid-grade sects. Suddenly, Zhao Fu sensed something and stopped injecting the gust of wind into the statue. Coincidentally, the statue had finished absorbing the clear wind sword intent, and just as Feng Beiming and the others were about to thank Zhao Fu flew in front of a mountain peak and drew the 10,000 sword spirits from his waist. Chapter 2796. Book 1, Chapter 241. Clang. Zhao Fu raised the sword in his hand and slashed forwards, and a massive rainbow-colored sword light slashed forwards with astonishing power. The mountain immediately gave off an azure light, wanting to block that terrifying sword light. Boom! The azure light did not obstruct it at all, and the rainbow-colored sword light split the mountain apart. The mountain collapsed, causing boulders to tumble down and dust to fly everywhere. Feng Beiming and the others looked confused, not understanding why Zhao Fu would do this. Zhao Fu looked towards the center of the mountain and saw a space that was tens of meters wide. There were many treasures inside, but they did not attract Zhao Fu at all. This seemed to be where the Cool Wind Sword School hid their treasures. Zhao Fu did not reveal any expression and flew down to a square stone table. There was a small wooden box on it, and Zhao Fu opened it. Within it was a bronze shard that was as big as a leaf. It was the bronze shard that Zhao Fu had been looking for. Because he had sent the Cool Wind Sword intent into the legacy statue, his aura had covered the entire Cool Wind Sword School, allowing him to sense the bronze shard's existence. Feng Beiming and the others flew over to Zhao Fu's side and asked curiously, "Young Master Mo Long, what are you doing?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I'm sorry. I was a bit impatient, so I'll compensate your Cool Wind Sword School for your losses." Feng Beiming smiled as he said, "Young Master Mo Long, my Cool Wind Sword School owes you a great debt, so there's no need for that." Zhao Fu smiled as he asked, "How did the Cool Wind Sword School obtain this bronze shard?" After such a long time, Zhao Fu had finally obtained another bronze shard. Moreover, this bronze shard's information was very important, and he might be able to find other shards. Feng Beiming smiled as he said, "This bronze shard has been in the Cool Wind Sword School for a long time, but no one knows what it is or where it came from. Young Master Mo Long, do you know what it is?" Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt somewhat disappointed as he said, "It's best if you don't know about it." Although Feng Beiming and the others were curious, seeing Zhao Fu's expression, they did not continue asking. "I know there are more bronze fragments there." A figure suddenly appeared in the sky. Zhao Fu raised his head and saw that it was a female sword girl. The sword heir had wanted to return to the fairy sword land, but she was attracted by a familiar ripple. She found that Zhao Fu was there. Seeing how much Zhao Fu cared about the bronze shard, the Jian heir felt quite curious. She knew Zhao Fu's personality, and if it wasn't something important, Zhao Fu wouldn't care about it. She did know about the bronze shard, so she spoke up. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he asked, "Do you know where this bronze shard is?" If you are willing to tell me, I am willing to give you some precious items in exchange. The swordswoman chuckled and said, I'm not interested in those things of yours. Tell me about the bronze fragment. It seems that many people have been collecting them recently. Zhao Fu said. No. The sword girl smiled and said, This bronze fragment is very important to you, right? Moreover, the bronze shard is very unusual. Zhao Fu frowned and said, Are you willing to tell me about the bronze shard or not? The sword girl lightly harumphed. You're angry just like that? Let me tell you, our faction also has a bronze shard like this, and the aura it gives off is similar to the one in your hand. Zhao Fu's attitude softened as he said, Then can you bring that bronze shard to me? I am willing to give you something you want in exchange. The sword girl thought about it and said, I can give it a try, but I can't guarantee that I'll be able to obtain it. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Then I'll have to trouble you. The sword girl rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, Your attitude has changed too quickly. I really don't want to help you. Zhao Fu smiled and explained, This thing is very important to me. I'm sorry about what happened just now. The sword girl gave a satisfied smile and said, I don't want anything else, but I want you to promise me something. Zhao Fu asked, What is it? The sword girl smiled and said, Let me comprehend the three supreme sword intents within your body. To Zhao Fu, this was not a big deal. Even if he had to give her a trace of sword intent source, Zhao Fu would be willing, so he smiled and replied, All right, I promise you. The sword girl also gave a happy smile. Thinking about the three supreme sword intents, she felt quite excited. Following this, Zhao Fu changed his mind and took Feng Yao to the Angel Sword Land. 2 days later, Zhao Fu and Feng Yao waited at a city. If the sword girl could obtain that bronze shard, that would be for the best, but if she could not, he would think of another way. No matter what, he had to obtain that bronze shard. The Angel Sword Land scenery was very beautiful. There was lush green grass and vegetation, and there were winding creeks. It was as beautiful as a painting, and there was something special about it, which was that there were sword-like mountains. The sword girl smiled as she walked into a room and looked at a valiant-looking, mature, and beautiful middle-aged woman as she said, Mother, I'm back. The beautiful middle-aged woman was the Angel Sword Land's master, and she was called the Heavenly Sword. Not only was she beautiful, but the heavenly spirit sword intent she cultivated was far more terrifying than the sword girl's. She was even more powerful than ordinary higher beings, and was a famous expert in the way of the sword. The heavenly sword smiled as she said, You're back so quickly? You look so happy. Did something good happen? The sword girl smiled as she replied, Also, Mother, I came to find you about this. The heavenly sword smiled as she said, I also came to find you about something. Are the rumors about the Lord of 10,000 Swords true? The sword girl nodded. He's a terrifying genius in the way of the sword, and the rumors about him are all true. I can confirm this with my own eyes. The heavenly sword's expression became serious. If the rumors were true, the Lord of 10,000 Swords' power would be incredibly terrifying. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he would be the most powerful person in the way of the sword in the future. His appearance was a massive matter to many sword cultivators, and he might affect their fates in the future. The sword girl smiled as she said, Mother, I want that bronze shard in your hands. The heavenly sword asked curiously, Why do you need that thing? It's useless to you. The sword girl said, I made a deal with someone else and need that bronze shard. The heavenly sword said seriously, No, that bronze shard is not an ordinary shard and cannot be exchanged easily. Also, who did you make the deal with? The sword girl thought about it and made a decision, saying, Mother, I won't hide it from you. I made a deal with the Lord of 10,000 Swords. As long as I give him the bronze shard, he will comprehend 3 powerful sword intents. I believe that the bronze shard is useless to us, so we can exchange it. The heavenly sword looked quite confused. She had been quite shocked about the Lord of 10,000 Swords and had never thought that her daughter had already made a deal with him. Chapter 2797. Book 1 ch 242. This deal seemed to be a good one. The bronze shard was useless to her anyway. If her daughter could comprehend 3 supreme sword intents, it would be of great help to her daughter. However, the heavenly sword did not want to do this, and she smiled as she said, "Call the master of 10,000 swords over. If he wants the bronze shard, he can come personally." The sword girl asked, "Mother, do you agree to the trade?" Heavenly Sword smiled and said, "No, but I have my own plans." The female sword girl nodded and said, "Then I'll call him over now. He's waiting in a city next to the sword ground." The heavenly sword nodded and smiled as she said, "I also want to personally meet the master of 10,000 swords." Jian found Zhao Fu in the inn. Zhao Fu asked, "Did you bring the bronze fragment?" The female sword girl shook her head. "My mother said you should go by yourself." Zhao Fu frowned as he looked at Jian and asked, "If I go, I'll be able to obtain the bronze shard?" Jian replied, "I don't know, but I think we should be able to obtain it easily because the bronze shard is useless to us." Zhao Fu thought for a moment. "All right, I can go with you." Jian gave a trace of a smile and said, "Come with me." They arrived at the fairy sword land. There were already a few beautiful women waiting in the hall. Apart from the heroic-looking Nu Tianjian, there was also a beautiful woman with a cold temperament called Nu Linghan, a voluptuous woman called Nu Lu, a gentle-looking woman called Nu Xiaoning, and a tall and beautiful woman with a delicate face called Concubine Mu. The last pair was a pair of sisters with seductive figures and pure temperament. They were called First Lady Lian and Second Lady Ling. This was because they were all elders of the Angel Sword Land and wore white dresses. They gave off celestial auras and were as sharp as swords. The auras they gave off were also quite powerful, and none of them were lower than the higher being realm. Nu Lengan said in shock, "I never expected that the master of 10,000 swords would actually return to our world. News about him has already spread far and wide." Xiao Ning said with a smile, "I also want to meet this person. Now that he has grasped 3 supreme sword intents, he is known as the #1 person in the sword Dao." Nu Yu smiled and said, "I think Jian is quite suitable for him. Why not marry Jian to him? With his current conditions, no one would reject him. Most importantly, I heard that something happened between him and Jian. It seems that Jian made a bet to marry him." Imperial Concubine Mu chuckled and said, "Let's see how that person is first. We can't let Jian suffer." Woman 1 asked curiously, "Aren't you curious as to why he wants this bronze fragment? I heard that it's related to the origin race. Many people are collecting it." The heavenly sword said, "There is no point in leaving this thing with us. No matter what he does, the most important thing is the 3 supreme sword intent. That is why I called him here. If we can obtain any one of them, it will be incredibly beneficial to us." The 2 female spirits sweetly smiled and nodded. "Big Sister is still full of it. Those are the 3 strongest sword intents in the world. If we can comprehend some of them, not only will our strength increase, but we might even break through our current realms." At that moment, the sword heir brought Zhao Fu into the hall. Seeing that everyone was present, the sword heir smiled and called out, "Greetings, aunties." Zhao Fu also bowed and said, "Greetings, seniors." The beautiful women smiled and nodded, and their gazes fell on Zhao Fu's body. They felt that Zhao Fu was not simple at all, and they could not see through Zhao Fu at all. The sword heir walked to the center of the beautiful women. Zhao Fu said, "I came to ask for a bronze fragment in Senior's hands. I hope that Senior can give it to me." The sword heir smiled as she replied, "No problem, but you'll need to stay in the fairy sword ground for a few days." With Zhao Fu's status, the beautiful women naturally did not dare to forcefully snatch it. Moreover, even if they tried, they would not be able to obtain it, as the three supreme sword intents were not ordinary sword intents. As such, the beautiful women wanted Zhao Fu to stay for a few days and find a way to obtain it during this time. Zhao Fu thought for a moment before asking, "Will Senior really be able to obtain that bronze fragment by staying a few days?" The sword heir smiled as she said, "We won't lie to you." Zhao Fu continued to say, "Senior, please take out that bronze fragment and let me have a look." The sword heir smiled as she took out an ancient bronze fragment from her spatial ring and said, "Is this the one you're looking for?" Seeing this bronze fragment, the bronze fragment within Zhao Fu's body faintly sensed it and he felt at ease. He smiled as he said, "I agree to stay for a few days." The sword heir lightly laughed as she said, "Sword heir, take him away. He's now our sword ground's esteemed guest, so take good care of him." The sword heir nodded and brought Zhao Fu away. After Zhao Fu left, the beautiful women once again started to discuss. Now that they had personally seen Zhao Fu, they had obtained some simple information. On the way, many women wearing white dresses with swords at their waists looked curiously at Zhao Fu walking beside the sword heir. They had heard that the Lord of 10,000 Swords had come here, and they felt quite curious about what kind of person the Lord of 10,000 Swords was. They greatly worshipped the Lord of 10,000 Swords' power. Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at the women around him. Some people could not hold back their excitement and cried out, "Lord of 10,000 Swords!" Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Seeing how gentle and easygoing Zhao Fu was, the women became even more excited, and the surroundings became even more lively. They asked Zhao Fu all sorts of questions, such as whether Zhao Fu could show them his power, why Zhao Fu was so powerful, what kind of people Zhao Fu liked, and what kind of comprehension Zhao Fu had towards the way of the sword. The sword heir frowned and said coldly, "Be quiet. He's now our fairy sword ground's esteemed guest." Only then did the women fall silent. After coming to an exquisite house, the sword heir said, "You can stay here for a few days. If there's anything, just call me." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. "Can I have a look around?" The fairy sword ground was a very powerful faction, and perhaps he would gain something here, so Zhao Fu wanted to have a look around. The sword heir thought of the women outside. If Zhao Fu wanted to walk around by himself, he would be split up by those women, so she replied, "I can take you around, but you can't go by yourself." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. After walking around, Zhao Fu indeed gained something. Zhao Fu came to a flat area made of stone, and there were beautiful fairies wearing white dresses and ribbons around their waists dancing in the air, giving off a formless sword energy. This was the fairy sword ground's cultivation ground, and cultivating here would become many times faster. However, it was useless to Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu was not interested in cultivating. This place was called the Fairy Sword Domain, and it was a powerful domain, which was what Zhao Fu was interested in. Chapter 2798. Book 1, Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had already grasped a few major domains, and he was only 2 away from raising the evil immortal bloodline to stage 5. Only then would Zhao Fu be able to continue devouring various bloodlines. "How can I obtain your Deva sword domain?" Zhao Fu looked at the fairies in the sky and smiled as he asked. The sword heir asked in surprise, "You're very interested in our sword domain?" Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, The sword heir said, "You'll have to rely on your own comprehension. As long as you stay in the sword domain and cultivate, you'll be able to comprehend the Deva sword domain." Zhao Fu said, "I'll stay here and comprehend it." The sword heir looked at the women around her and said, "I'll wait here then." Zhao Fu asked, "Are you all right?" The sword heir replied, I also want to see how you comprehend our faction's Deva sword domain." Zhao Fu closed his eyes and a formless perception spread out. The surrounding sword domain's power was drawn over, and traces of it flowed towards Zhao Fu. Within Zhao Fu's mind, a fairy was dancing with a sword. The sword heir looked at Zhao Fu from up close, and could not help but smile. She felt that Zhao Fu was quite attractive, and had a formless charm to him. Perhaps this was the charm of a genius in the way of the sword. Time gradually passed, and about an hour later, Zhao Fu opened his eyes in satisfaction. A formless sword energy spread out, and a fairy dancing with a sword appeared beside him. Because he had grasped the 10,000 sword legacy's power, this sword domain was quite easy for Zhao Fu to comprehend. The sword heir looked quite surprised. He grasped the Deva sword domain so quickly? Looking at the fairy dancing with a sword next to Zhao Fu, even though they were not as powerful as the fairy above them, it was indeed impossible for Zhao Fu to comprehend it in an hour. Zhao Fu said with a smile, "It's getting late. Let's go back." The swordswoman did not pay much attention to how quickly Zhao Fu had comprehended the celestial maiden's sword intent. Zhao Fu himself was an astonishing genius of the sword Dao, and she definitely could not compare to him. She gave a light grunt. Zhao Fu returned to the previous room, and the female Jian also left. Zhao Fu sat cross-legged on the bed, familiarizing himself with the power of the sword domain that he had just comprehended. At present, all he needed was a powerful domain to break through to the 5th level of the evil immortal stage. Thus, Zhao Fu had been waiting for quite some time. Not too long later, the heavenly sword walked in and smiled as she said, "I have something to talk to you about." Zhao Fu asked in confusion, "What's the matter, senior?" The heavenly sword took out a piece of black wood that was 1/2 foot long and 3 fingers wide. There were many sword runes on it, and she said, "Use your 3 supreme sword intents to fuse into this piece of wood." This was a piece of 10,000-year-old connate sword wood that had been nurtured by the heavens and earth. It was a very precious treasure, and it could absorb sword intents to grow. It could absorb sword intents, no matter how powerful they were, and after absorbing sword intents, it would form a sword wood heart. This sword wood heart contained the source energy of absorbing sword intents, and the source energy of sword intents would become very gentle and anyone could absorb it. After much discussion, the beautiful women came up with this method, and they had specially obtained the 10,000-year-old sword rune wood to prevent it from being unable to withstand the 3 sword intents. Zhao Fu knew what the heavenly sword's goal was. It seemed that she wanted the 3 supreme sword intents, so he did not refuse. Zhao Fu stretched out a finger and pointed out, and the 3 sword intents turned into rays of light and shot into the piece of wood. Sensing how powerful the 3 sword intents were, the heavenly sword looked quite shocked. The black piece of sword rune would absorb Zhao Fu's sword intents, and the sword runes lit up. However, soon, the sword rune wood shattered with a bang. The heavenly sword sighed and said, "As expected from a supreme sword intent, even this 10,000-year-old sword rune wood cannot withstand it." The heavenly sword was about to leave in disappointment. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Senior, you want to obtain my 3 supreme sword intents? I have a way to give them to you." The heavenly sword said in delight, "What is it? If you give it to us directly, we do not have the ability to fuse with such a supreme sword intent, and it will instead be harmful to us." Zhao Fu smiled and explained the method. The heavenly sword felt somewhat hesitant. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Senior, don't worry, this method of mine is very gentle and can help you comprehend it. Otherwise, there would be no other way. This is a supreme sword intent, and not everyone can have it." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Senior, don't worry." The heavenly sword lightly nodded. In order to obtain the 3 supreme sword intents, everything was worth it. Zhao Fu went up and hugged the heavenly sword as they walked to the side. The next day, the heavenly sword faintly woke up in Zhao Fu's embrace. Thinking about what had happened the previous night, her face blushed. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Senior, I didn't lie to you, right?" The heavenly sword nodded. She had indeed grasped 3 extremely powerful sword intents. Even though they were very weak, they were of great help to her and allowed her to comprehend even more powerful sword intents. However, this method was not easy to accept. The heavenly sword blushed and said in a small voice, "Don't tell anyone about what happened between us." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before asking, "There's one more thing I want to ask, Senior." The heavenly sword said, "Go ahead." Zhao Fu said, "Senior, how did you obtain that bronze shard?" Zhao Fu not only wanted to obtain the beautiful woman, the heavenly sword, but he also wanted to obtain some information from her. Perhaps she also knew about other bronze shards. The heavenly sword asked curiously, "What do you want the bronze shard for?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "I can't tell you that." The heavenly sword said softly, "I didn't pay much attention to the bronze shard at first, but I heard that it's related to that child of origin, so many people started to pay attention to it. If it wasn't for the fact that you have a pure demon dragon bloodline, I would have suspected that you're that child of origin." Zhao Fu hugged the heavenly sword and smiled as he said, "Senior, it's impossible for me to be that child of origin." Now that Zhao Fu could not control the heavenly sword, he definitely would not tell her his identity. The heavenly sword said with a slight smile, "You've grasped these three supreme sword intents, so I don't think that you're any weaker than that child of origin. Right now, your cultivation is too low, so you need to continue cultivating." Zhao Fu nodded, "I know." The heavenly sword continued to say, "I obtained this bronze shard from the December Merchant Group. I heard that they still have a few pieces, but because of the child of origin, they are not selling them. I'm afraid that it will be very difficult for you to obtain them." December Merchant Group? Zhao Fu thought to himself. It seemed that he would have to go there in the future and obtain December's power. When cultivated to the extreme, December's power was an extremely powerful power. The heavenly sword said softly, "Get up. It's getting late and it's best that no one finds out about us." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded, "Senior, I'll continue to help you comprehend sword intent tonight." The heavenly sword's face became red and she softly nodded. Following this, the two of them got up. Not long after the heavenly sword left, the heavenly sword's heir came to find Zhao Fu. Yes. Yes. Chapter 2799. Book 1, Chapter 244. Zhao Fu looked at the sword heir and smiled as he said, "What is it?" The sword heir said somewhat embarrassedly, "I want to comprehend 3 of your supreme sword intents. Is that possible?" The sword heir had made a deal with Zhao Fu that as long as she could obtain the bronze shard, Zhao Fu would help her comprehend 3 supreme sword intents. However, the sword heir had not obtained the bronze shard. Zhao Fu thought of the sword heir's mother and smiled as he said, "How about I give you a trace of sword intent as well?" The sword heir did not understand what Zhao Fu was talking about. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and pulled the sword heir into his embrace. The sword heir's face became slightly red and she frantically struggled, but she was unable to break free from Zhao Fu's grasp. A few hours later, the sword heir's face was red as she hugged Zhao Fu's arm and gave a trace of a smile as she said, "I never thought that you would be so good-looking." The sword heir had been interested in Zhao Fu, and when Zhao Fu had wanted to take her, she had only struggled slightly before submitting to Zhao Fu. Now that she had become Zhao Fu's woman, she felt quite happy and did not feel angry. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "What did you think I would look like?" The sword heir smiled as she said, "I thought that you would have a ferocious face or a valiant face, but I never thought that you would look so perfect." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "I've given you a trace of sword intent, which is much better than your comprehension. You can rely on this trace of sword intent to become even more powerful." The sword heir smiled as she said, Thank you." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "You can rely on that trace of sword intent to cultivate. I want to continue to walk around the fairy sword ground." The sword heir smiled as she nodded. After Zhao Fu left the room, the sword heir returned to her residence. Within a secret room, the heavenly sword sat cross-legged on a circular stone platform. Her body gave off 3 rays of sword light, and she gave off a powerful sword aura, causing the air in the secret room to seem incredibly sharp. The other beautiful women sensed this energy ripple, and came to this secret room. Looking at the female heaven sword sitting on the stage, they looked quite shocked. Imperial concubine Mu said in shock, Tianjian has already obtained those 3 supreme sword intents, and his power has greatly changed. Not only has he become much stronger, but he also gives us a very dangerous feeling. Nu Yu asked curiously, didn't they say that the 10,000-year-old sword pattern couldn't withstand the 3 supreme sword intents? How did the sky sword obtain 3 supreme sword intents? The 2 female spirits said, I'm also curious. Looking at Heavenly Sword's rosy face and even more alluring aura, Heavenly Sword guessed something and gave a flirtatious smile. Nu Ling said with a hint of envy, this supreme sword intent is so strong. I really hope that we can also obtain this sword intent. Xiao Ning said, let's wait for Sky Sword to finish cultivating and ask her how she can obtain sword intent. The other women nodded. Nu Ling smiled and walked to the side, wanting to verify her thoughts. The 2 female spirits asked, Big Sis, where are you going? Are you not going to wait for Heavenly Sword? Nu Ling smiled and said, Little sister, come with me. The 2 female spirits nodded in confusion. Zhao Fu walked to the mountainside and heard that there was a fairy stone here, so he wanted to see what kind of stone it was. At that moment, Nu Ling and the 2 female spirits found Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu bowed and said, Greetings, Senior. Nu Ling looked at Zhao Fu and smiled as she said, We came to find you for a reason. Zhao Fu asked, What is it? Nu Ling smiled flirtatiously and said, How did you give Heavenly Sword the supreme sword intent? Give it to us. Zhao Fu understood and smiled as he went up and hugged Nu Ling. The 2 female spirits' faces became red and understood why Heavenly Sword had not told them how she had obtained the supreme sword intent. Seeing their big sister like this, the 2 female spirits also wanted to obtain the supreme sword intent, so they quickly joined in. 2 hours later, Nu Ling's faces were red and she smiled as she left. They had obtained a trace of sword intent source, and wanted to find a place to absorb and refine it just like Heavenly Sword. Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile. The 2 beautiful women were quite enchanting. Zhao Fu looked towards the forest and said, You can all come out. 4 or 5 women walked out with red faces. They had been cultivating here, and had never thought that they would encounter their sex elder and Zhao Fu doing such a thing. They had never thought that the fairy-like elder would become like this. Zhao Fu looked at the women and found that they were all quite beautiful as he said, Come here. The women looked at each other and walked towards Zhao Fu. They knew what was going to happen, but looking at Zhao Fu's perfect looks, domineering aura, and his identity as the Lord of 10,000 Swords, they could not refuse. Soon, it was night time and dozens of beautiful women lay by his side. A woman with an alluring aura smiled as she said, Lord of 10,000 Swords, you're simply too enchanting. I like you so much, and even if I can't obtain anything, I want to be with you. Another beautiful woman smiled as she said, Me too, I think I've fallen in love with you. A beautiful woman sighed, It's a pity that our identities are too lowly and cannot be your women. It is our honor to be able to serve you. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, Now that you've become my women, I won't mistreat you. There's some sword energy within your bodies, which will be very beneficial to you. Hearing this, the women sensed their bodies and looked delighted, and they immediately thanked Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, In the future, I might take you away to where I am, and I'll take good care of you. The women all gave happy smiles. The beautiful woman said emotionally, Lord of 10,000 Swords, you're too good to us. We'll definitely serve you well in the future. The pure-looking woman said seriously, In the future, I'll belong to the Lord of 10,000 Swords and will never let any other man touch me. The flirtatious-looking woman said, Lord of 10,000 swords, our sword land is also famous for our beauties, and there are many beautiful women here. Do you need us to call them over? Zhao Fu felt that the women from the Sky Maiden Sword Land were all quite good and had a celestial aura, so he smiled and nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu followed the women to where they lived. It was a very large building complex, and the disciples with ordinary statuses would live together. The disciples with slightly higher statuses would have their own rooms, and the women with even higher statuses would have their own courtyard. Zhao Fu grinned as he entered. At that moment, female Heaven's Sword slowly opened her eyes. She had only fused with traces of supreme sword intent, and her power had greatly increased. Female Heaven's Sword gave a trace of a satisfied smile. Everything she had done had been worth it. Female Heaven's Sword. Chapter 2800. Book 1. Chapter 245. Ning and the others walked in and sensed the powerful aura that the heavenly sword gave off. Nu Ling said with a smile, "Your power has increased by so much, it's so enviable. As expected from the power of the supreme sword intent." Nu Lu looked at the heavenly sword, who had opened her eyes, and said anxiously, "Heavenly sword, hurry and tell us how you obtained the supreme sword intent. Also, why did you hide it from us?" The heavenly sword thought about what had happened last night and blushed. "I don't want to hide it from you, but in order to obtain the supreme sword intent, you need to have sex with the master of 10,000 swords." Hearing this, the women's faces blushed. Nu Ning asked shyly, "Heavenly sword, did you really have sex with him? How did it feel?" Now that things were clear, the heavenly sword calmly smiled and said, That feeling will make you fall. If you want to obtain the sword intent, you can go now." The women left out of curiosity and shyness. Following this, they sensed the changes in the sisters' power, and understood that they had also had sex with Zhao Fu. They hesitated for a moment before going to Zhao Fu's room. However, Zhao Fu was not in the room, and they felt that this was quite strange. They sensed the sword ground and their bodies disappeared. They appeared in the sky and looked down at the chaotic scene in the garden, and their faces became red. This time, the Fairy Sword Land's reputation was going to be ruined by Zhao Fu. The Fairy Sword Land's women were all known for their purity, and their fairy-like auras attracted countless men's gazes. However, their otherworldly looks caused countless men to sigh. Zhao Fu's eyes lit up. The heavenly sword land had led a wolf into the house. Nu Lu and the others sighed and left the garden before the people below discovered them. They planned to come and find Zhao Fu the next day. However, when they found Zhao Fu the next day, Zhao Fu was violating the Fairy Sword Land's disciples in a forest. The women could only leave. On the third day, Zhao Fu became even more unbridled and started to violate the Fairy Sword Land's disciples in the Fairy Sword domain. They couldn't take it anymore, so they appeared and chased the disciples away. Then, they called Zhao Fu to a hall. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "May I know why the seniors are looking for me?" Nu Ling glared at Zhao Fu and said somewhat angrily, "You did such a thing in our Fairy Sword Land, and you still have the cheek to say that?" Zhao Fu replied with a smile, "Senior, this is a matter of mutual consent. You can't blame me." Nu Yu stared at Zhao Fu and said coldly, "If you weren't the master of 10,000 swords, I would definitely teach you a lesson right now. Let's see if you still dare to act like this." Little Ning said, "There's no need to say anything else. Give us a few supreme sword intents, and we won't pursue this matter. Then, please leave the Fairy Sword Land immediately." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. One day later, Zhao Fu looked at the beautiful women in his arms and said with a playful smile, "I've given you guys a few supreme sword intents now. I'll leave immediately." Nu Ling rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu. "You should continue staying in the Fairy Sword Land for a few more days." Little Ning's face turned red. "I don't object either," Zhao Fu said with a smile. "Then I'll stay for 2 more days. The desolate ancient dragon race's young master selection is about to begin, so I still have to rush back." Female concubine Mu smiled and said, "You're already the master of 10,000 swords, and your status isn't any lower than the desolate ancient dragon race's young master. Why do you still want to fight for that position? Most importantly, you're a genius in the sword Dao. Becoming the dragon race's young master is a waste of your talent." Zhao Fu explained, "I need the desolate ancient dragon race's legacy." Nuling said, "I heard that your race has a void dragon who has the support of the desolate ancient dragon star. Although you're a genius in the sword Dao, without the desolate ancient dragon star, you'll be at a disadvantage in terms of dragon power. Are you confident in becoming the desolate ancient dragon race's young master?" Zhao Fu said confidently, "Of course." Nuling said with a smile, "I believe in you. However, we need to refine and comprehend the supreme sword intents that you've given us, so we might not be able to watch your competition." Zhao Fu said without minding. And at this moment, Little Ning said curiously, "3 supreme sword intents. One is the 10,000 sword intent, one is the evil sword intent, and what's the last one called?" Zhao Fu said with a smile, "I can't tell you." Little Ning said coquettishly, "We've already had such a relationship with you, so we're also your women. Why aren't you willing to tell us?" Nuling said softly, "Tell us? We really want to know." Zhao Fu said with a smile, "This is my secret, so I really can't tell you." Seeing this, the women did not force him. Zhao Fu spent 2 days with the beautiful women and disciples, and he looked at Heavenly Sword in his embrace and said intimately, "Heavenly Sword, can you give me the bronze shard now?" Heavenly Sword took out the bronze shard and handed it to Zhao Fu as she asked, "What do you need the bronze shard for?" The other beautiful women also looked at Zhao Fu. Even though the bronze shard was useless to them, it was not an ordinary item. It was related to an origin artifact. Zhao Fu said with a slight smile, "Do you believe me if I say that I want to assemble an origin artifact?" Little Ning lightly laughed, "We don't believe you. You're not the legendary son of Origin, so how can you do it?" Zhao Fu said with a smile, "Then what do you want me to say?" "Even if I say it now, you won't believe me." Imperial concubine Mu said, "We won't ask you any more. After you become the desolate ancient dragon race's young master, you can return to the fairy sword land." Zhao Fu thought about it and said, "I have things to take care of, so I might not return to the fairy sword land." Heavenly Sword asked, "What else do you have to do? You're the master of 10,000 swords, and if you become the desolate ancient dragon race's young master, with these 2 terrifying identities and your shocking talent, you should find a place to properly cultivate. Soon, your power will surpass ours, and we can become your women." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Aren't you now?" Heavenly Sword rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, "I won't say that my man is a little Emperor Heaven Realm cultivator. Also, now that the fairy sword land has become your harem, I wonder where you got your abnormal abilities from." Zhao Fu laughed as he said, "Don't worry, I'll come back after I take care of things. If you become my women, I won't mistreat you." Heavenly Sword hugged Zhao Fu and lightly nodded. Zhao Fu grinned as he left the fairy sword land. The fairy sword land had made great gains this time, obtaining the fairy sword domain, the bronze shard, and enjoying many women. In the end, the fairy sword land's legacy power was not weak, but Zhao Fu did not absorb it because only women could obtain it. Even though Zhao Fu could use the 8 forbidden blood technique to become a woman, Zhao Fu could not accept that, so he gave up on the fairy sword land's legacy. After returning to the dragon territory, the desolate ancient dragon race's young master selection started. Chapter 2801. Book 1, Chapter 246. Dragon Land within a massive, colorful cave, there were rows of stone steps, and countless people from the dragon race were sitting on them. Some of them had smiles on their faces, some looked excited, and some looked calm. It was quite lively and noisy all around them. In the middle of the cave was a flat ground with a majestic image of the dragon ancestor. It looked like it was alive and made people revere it. There was no ceiling, and it was an open-air cave. This was the birthplace of the desolate ancient dragon ancestor. The desolate ancient dragon ancestor was the first desolate ancient dragon to be born in the primal chaos world. His power was enough to shock humans and gods alike. His body had 11 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, ice, god, demon, and heaven. Becoming the young lord of the desolate ancient dragon race would allow one to obtain the desolate ancient dragon ancestor's legacy. This legacy contained 11 elements, and it was far more powerful than a single element. This was because it belonged to the dragon ancestor. It was said that the desolate ancient dragon ancestor had left the primal ancient dragon world with the origin race. No one knew where they went. It could be the celestial world or the bottomless ruins. The ancestral dragon cave was normally a forbidden area and would only be opened during the desolate ancient dragon race's young lord selection. The method of selecting the desolate ancient dragon race's young lord selection was done from among the 11 young lords. If one wasn't the young lord of another young lord, they wouldn't have the right to go up. Of course, there were exceptions, and that was if one had the desolate ancient dragon ancestor's bloodline. Although the 11 young lords all had the desolate ancient dragon ancestor's bloodline, it was a weakened version of the bloodline. The true desolate ancient dragon ancestor's bloodline still had 11 elements. Right now, the bloodline closest to the dragon ancestor's bloodline was the heavenly dragon bloodline. Therefore, among the 11 bloodlines, the heavenly dragon bloodline was stronger than the other dragon races. It was a pity that no one had obtained the desolate ancient dragon ancestor's bloodline for many years, so it had gradually become a legend. The young master of the primordial wood dragons, Long Qinhong, the young master of the primordial water dragons, Long Sui, the young master of the primordial thunder dragons, Long Lang, the young master of the primordial wind dragons, Long Feng, and the young master of the primordial divine dragons, Long Huiling. There was also a youth with a metal dragon horn on his head. He was the desolate ancient golden dragon young lord, and he was the desolate ancient dragon young lord. This was the desolate ancient ice dragon's young mistress, and she was called Long Qifeng. She had a cold expression and gave off an icy aura. There was a chubby, somewhat ugly young man wearing leather armor. He was the desolate ancient earth dragon's young lord, and his name was Longtu. The last one was a beautiful woman with long, fiery hair and a fiery figure. She was the young mistress of the primordial fire dragon bloodline, and her name was Long Yini. Out of the 11 lineages, 9 of the young masters had arrived. Only the primordial sky dragon lineage was left. The young master of the primordial demonic dragon lineage had yet to arrive. These two people were the people that everyone was looking forward to the most. Long Lang, who was standing on the stage, frowned and said unhappily, "Those two are really arrogant. They still haven't come yet and are making us wait for them." Dragonwind said softly, "The two of them are the strongest competitors for the position of the desolate ancient dragon race's young master. Even if we don't wait for them, the elders of the various bloodlines will." Long Sui said, "I heard that the demon dragon race's young master has become the master of 10,000 swords, and his strength is world-shaking. I feel that we definitely won't be a match for him. It's a pity that we can only use dragon power in the ancestral dragon cave, or else he would definitely be this generation's young master." Long Tua said with a cold expression, "It's not that we don't have a chance. There are 9 of us while there are only 2 of them. If the 9 of us join forces, we might be able to defeat them. That way, the desolate ancient dragon race's young master will be born among the 9 of us." Hearing this, everyone started to hesitate. They were the young masters of the various dragon bloodlines and had prestigious statuses. Moreover, it would be quite embarrassing for so many people to join forces and attack two people. However, those two people's strength was too terrifying, and none of them had any hope of winning. Long Tuo said, "Are you willing to be under them and take them as your masters?" Long Leng said, "I'll join. I don't like those two people, and this is a good opportunity to teach them a lesson." Dragonwind said, "Even though it's not very honorable, it doesn't break the rules. I'll also join." Long Sui also joined. Long Qinghong looked at Long Huiling and asked, "Huiling, what do you plan to do?" Long Huiling said calmly, "You don't need to think about me. You can make your own decision." Long Qinghong thought for a moment before saying, "I'll also join." He was not interested in the dragon race's young master, but now that they were united, perhaps there was a trace of a chance. That way they could help Long Huiling. The desolate ancient fire dragon's young master, Long Yenny, laughed as she said, "I'll also join." After thinking about it, Long Qifeng, the descendant of the desolate ancient golden dragon's young master and the desolate ancient ice dragon's young master, decided to join as well. They knew how strong the other two people were, and they could not just watch as those two people became the desolate ancient dragon race's young masters. In the end, only Long Huiling did not join, and she stood there calmly. Long Tuo asked, "Long Huiling, why don't you join? I remember that you've always been plotting to become the desolate ancient dragon race's young master." Long Huiling said softly, "I'm no longer interested in becoming the desolate ancient dragon race's young master. If it wasn't for the fact that the young master had to join, I would not have come." Her words caused everyone to feel quite surprised. Long Sui asked, "I heard that you have a good relationship with the demon dragon race's young master. Did something happen between the two of you?" Long Huiling glanced at Long Sui. "No." Long Leng said as he laughed, "Now that we have 8 people, it's fine even if she's missing. Let's discuss how to deal with those 2 people." Long Tuo nodded seriously. Everyone outside was also discussing fervently. "Why isn't the demon dragon race's young master here yet? I like him too much. He's brought glory to our desolate ancient dragon race. He's the first person from the dragon race to become the master of 10,000 sword. I support Long Voidless. Even though that demon dragon race's young master is powerful, without the desolate ancient dragon star, he's clearly not as strong as Long Voidless. I also support Long Voidless. No one is his match in terms of dragon power. I don't think Long Voidless can do it. I think that the demon dragon race's young master is stronger, and he'll definitely become the young master of the desolate ancient dragon race. You guys stop fighting. I think that the other young masters also have some chances. Don't be so confident." "That's right. I feel that the combined strength of the 9 young masters will definitely be more terrifying than the other 2. Who knows, one of the other 9 might become the desolate ancient dragon race's young master. I support Long Huiling. She's simply too beautiful, and she's so powerful. Moreover, it seems that there are very few women among the desolate ancient dragon race's young masters." Many of the dragon race's higher-ups sat on the stone platform and were chatting and laughing. They were discussing the selection of the desolate ancient dragon race's young masters and who would become the next young master. The most popular ones were naturally Zhao Fu and Long Voidless. Chapter 2802. Book 1, Chapter 247. Swish! A huge crystal-colored light descended from the sky, and the many crystals scattered. A handsome young man dressed in white appeared on the field. It was Void Dragon. Long Shiwu stood at his original position, emitting a dense dragon force. Just his aura alone was enough to suppress the other 9 bloodline young masters. This caused the expressions of the 9 bloodline young masters to change. On the viewing platform, many experts from the Dragon Clan were also shocked. This Long Shiwu's strength was many times stronger than before. It seemed like he had put in a lot of effort for the desolate ancient dragon clan's young master selection. Long Shiwu glanced at the other young masters before retracting his gaze. He only had one opponent, the demon dragon clan's young master. Long Shiwu didn't care about the others. Anger appeared on Long Lang's face. Later on we will find him first. Let's see if he can still be so arrogant. Long Tuan nodded solemnly. After a while, everyone became anxious. Now, only the demon dragon clan's young master hadn't arrived. Long Yunyun called Long Xing over and asked, "Why isn't the young master back yet?" Long Xing replied honestly, "The young master told us to return first. He will stay in the Angel Sword ground for a few days. When the young master's selection begins, he will return by himself." Long Yunyun puffed up her cheeks. "I wonder what the young master is doing?" Long Qin smiled and said, "There's no need to be so anxious. There's still some time before the young master's selection begins. In a while, the young master should be back." After waiting for another 10 minutes, many experts on the viewing platform frowned. They had waited for far too long, and it was already time for the young master's selection to begin. At this moment, a person wearing a cloak slowly floated down from the sky. The crowd immediately went into an uproar. This was the Demon Dragon clan's young master, the person they had been waiting for a long time. Zhao Fu landed on the ground. Long Shiwu's eyes immediately turned to look at Zhao Fu. This was his first time seeing Zhao Fu. Based on his intuition, Zhao Fu was his greatest opponent. Long Shiwu felt some pressure in his heart. As for the other young lords of the 9 bloodlines, some of them had already met Zhao Fu, while others had never met Zhao Fu. However, they had all heard of the terrifying things Zhao Fu had done, and their faces grew very serious. The experts in the spectator stands all had smiles on their faces as they stared at Zhao Fu. When they heard that Zhao Fu had become the Lord of 10,000 Swords, they were filled with anticipation to meet Zhao Fu. And now their wish was finally fulfilled. But what made them bewildered was that they couldn't see through Zhao Fu at all. They felt that Zhao Fu was extremely mysterious. With a confident smile, Zhao Fu faced everyone's gaze. An elder wearing a cloud robe came up and announced, "The young master's selection officially begins." Boom! An explosion sounded out as the entire dragon cave gave off countless rainbow-colored lights, and a massive wave of ancient dragon energy spread out. Countless dragon images appeared in the sky and circled around the dragon cave, giving off massive sounds. This wave of dragon energy covered a great distance, and the many experts in the 10,000 Swords city sensed this powerful dragon energy and understood that the desolate ancient dragon race's young master's selection had begun. The abnormal signs gradually disappeared, and the ground started to tremble as square-shaped metal pillars slowly rose up from the ground. The square-shaped metal pillars were 100 meters tall and 10 meters wide. They were black and had 4 divine dragons imprinted on each side. There were also different marks of various sizes, most of which were dragon claw marks. The metal pillars were mainly used to test dragon energy, and only those with powerful dragon energy could participate in the selection. Boom! Long Lang clenched his fist, which gave off large amounts of violet lightning as he punched the metal pillar in front of him. Countless violet lightning bolts slammed into the metal pillar, causing sparks to shoot everywhere as a large crater appeared on the metal pillar. Seeing this scene, Long Lang gave a trace of a satisfied smile and retracted his fist. Long Lang was the first to act, and he immediately attracted everyone's gazes. Seeing him blast open such a large crater, everyone looked shocked. Long Lang was stronger than ordinary young lords. Long Spit vigorously slammed his palm against the metal pillar, and a powerful gale blew out as a 1-meter-long handprint appeared on the metal pillar. Long Spit usually looked quite low-key, but he was no weaker than Long Lang. The primordial ancient water dragon young Lord Long Sway's arm turned into a dragon claw and he vigorously swung forwards, sending out 5 blue claw marks that grabbed at the metal pillar in front of him. The claw marks on the metal pillar were not deep, which meant that Long Sway's strength was only average. Everyone immediately lost interest in Long Sway. Long Sway's expression did not change. He was clear about his own strength, and he did not think that he could become the primordial ancient dragon young lord. He had joined everyone else's group because he felt that it would be safer and more beneficial. But Long Feng's palm slammed against the metal pillar, causing a powerful gale to blow out. The metal pillar was cut open by a sharp gale, and a large crater appeared. This crater was slightly smaller than Long Lang's, so Long Feng's strength was also slightly lower than Long Lang's. Of course, that was if Long Feng did not hide his strength. Long Insignia looked at Zhao Fu and waved her hand, causing a powerful wave of dragon energy to imprint on the metal pillar, creating an ordinary mark that was similar to the one Long Sway had made. This could not be said to be weak, as this was a mark that she had casually made. Her strength was definitely not weaker than Long Lang's, and she might even be slightly stronger. Boom! Boom! Primordial Ancient Ice Dragon Young Lord Long Qifeng and Primordial Ancient Fire Dragon Young Lord Long Yenny attacked at the same time, punching the metal pillar with shocking power. A wave of cold air and hot air spread out, making everyone feel as if they were in a land of ice and fire. Both of them left a large mark, and their strength was also very strong. Long Xiwu looked at Zhao Fu, stretched out a finger, and lightly tapped on the metal pillar. Boom! A terrifying wave of dragon energy slammed into the metal pillar, causing it to directly shatter. Many fragments shot out with a powerful force. Everyone outside was shocked. Long Xiwu's strength was so terrifying that even the metal pillar could not withstand his strength. Long Xiwu was indeed a genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Many dragon race experts smiled. This Long Xiwu did not disappoint them. The expressions of the other young lords became slightly ugly. Now, Long Xiwu's strength was much more terrifying than theirs, and only by working together would they have a chance. This made them even more determined to work together. After Long Xiwu shattered the metal pillar, he looked at Zhao Fu, wanting to see how strong Zhao Fu was. Not only him, but countless people also looked at Zhao Fu, wanting to see how strong Zhao Fu was. Facing everyone's gazes, Zhao Fu casually waved his hand, and a black light hit the metal pillar, leaving an ordinary mark. Countless people were astonished. That's it. Seeing this, everyone was extremely disappointed. They had high hopes for Zhao Fu, and recently, they had been talking about him. But now, Zhao Fu was not serious at all, and didn't take this matter to heart. However, no one thought that Zhao Fu was weak, because Zhao Fu had already become the master of all swords, and he even had 3 supreme sword intents. It was impossible for him to be weak. Chapter 2803. Book 1. Chapter 248. Dragon Void retracted his gaze in disappointment. He wanted to see Zhao Fu's strength. Shattering the metal pillar was also a challenge to Zhao Fu, but Zhao Fu didn't accept it. Boom! An explosion sounded out, and countless colorful lights gathered in front of the young masters. A watermelon-sized crystal ball appeared. The crystal ball was called Dragon Blood Sphere, and it was used to test the bloodline of the dragon race. Long Lang was still the first. He placed his hand on the crystal ball, and a small purple dragon appeared in it. Its body was covered in lightning, and the purple light was getting stronger and stronger. Finally, the crystal ball stopped giving off a blinding purple light. This meant that Long Lang's bloodline was very high, and he was very strong. Looking at the scene before them, everyone revealed a shocked expression and began to discuss animatedly. This Long Lang looks quite strong. His bloodline is much stronger than ordinary young masters. And Long Lang is one of the stronger ones. Long Lang's lightning dragon power is also very strong. I hope he will have a shocking performance. And I have high hopes for Long Lang. It would be best if he becomes the young master of the desolate ancient dragon race. Long Lang enjoyed their respectful gazes and words. His personality was the same, or else he wouldn't be at the front every time. Dragon Insignia also placed her hand on the crystal ball, and a white dragon appeared in it. Countless white lights shone out, and the light was even stronger than Long Lang's. Everyone's eyes were quickly attracted by Dragon Insignia, and they started to discuss her. Seeing this, Long Lang was very unhappy. Long Hao and the others saw everyone talking about their young master and revealed surprised expressions. Their young master's bloodline and strength were both very strong. Dragon Insignia didn't want this, but the bloodline wasn't under her control and was sensed by the crystal ball. Long Sui also stretched out a hand, and a yellow dragon appeared in the crystal ball. Countless yellow lights shone out, and the light intensity was no weaker than Long Hao's. Long Sui also stretched out a hand, and a dragon formed from water appeared in the crystal ball. Countless blue lights shone out. The light intensity was no weaker than Long Sui's. Everyone revealed surprised expressions. They didn't expect Long Sui, the weakest among them, to have a bloodline as strong as Long Sui and Long Lang. Long Sui also didn't expect this. Looking at that piercing blue light, he revealed a surprised smile. Long Lang was unhappy in his heart. Why was his bloodline grade the same as Long Sui's? This was all thanks to Long Sui's parents. His parents' bloodline grade was very high, and as their son, Long Sui's inheritor, he didn't need to put in much effort to obtain such a high-grade bloodline. This was also an advantage. Long Feng stretched out a hand and placed it on the crystal ball. A dragon formed from wind appeared within the crystal ball, and countless rays of azure light shone out. The green light was bright but not intense, which meant that the dragon race's bloodline level was higher than that of the average dragon race's young master. Long Feng sighed. He didn't have Long Lang's talent, and his parents' bloodline level was average, so his bloodline level wasn't very high. Long Qinghong stretched out a hand and placed it on the crystal ball. A wooden dragon appeared within the crystal ball and gave off boundless green light. The light was not very bright, and it was about the same grade as Long Feng's bloodline. Long Qinghong was expressionless. He had already expected this, and this was also the reason why he didn't want to become the desolate ancient dragon race's young master. With such a bloodline level, it was almost impossible for him to become the dragon race's young master. Long Yinny stretched out a hand, and a fire dragon appeared within the crystal ball. Countless fiery lights emitted from it, and the light was intense. It was slightly weaker than Long Lang's, which meant that Long Yinny's bloodline level was only one grade lower than Long Lang's. Long Qifeng's light was the same as Long Feng's, bright but not intense. His bloodline level was only slightly higher than that of the average dragon race's young master. Long Xiu placed his hand on the crystal ball, and a metal dragon appeared within the crystal ball. Countless rays of golden light shot out, and the light was dazzling. It was about the same as Long Lang's bloodline level. Long Xiu also slowly placed his hand on the crystal ball. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out, and a dragon formed from crystals appeared within the crystal ball. It gave off countless rays of dazzling light, and it was like a small sun that illuminated the entire dragon ancestral cave. People couldn't open their eyes at all, and they had to use their hands to block it. Just the light from Long Xiu's crystal ball alone suppressed the other 9 young masters. Or rather, the other 9 young masters' bloodline levels added together couldn't compare to Long Xiu's. Long Xiu retracted his hand, and the light from the crystal ball gradually weakened. The crowd boiled up. The bloodline of the Sky Dragon bloodline is already relatively high, and Long Xiu also has the support of the desolate ancient dragon star. His bloodline level is shockingly high. Long Xiu's bloodline level is definitely the highest I have ever seen. The desolate ancient dragon star can greatly strengthen one's bloodline. I feel that Long Xiu's bloodline level is so high because of the desolate ancient dragon star. Even if he was an ordinary dragon with ordinary parents, It would be different if he had the desolate ancient dragon star. His bloodline would be purified by the dragon star. I feel that Long Xiuwu's bloodline is already very close to the dragon ancestors. If he obtains the inheritance of the dragon ancestor, will he be born with the dragon ancestor's bloodline? Now that I look at it, I feel that Long Xiuwu is definitely the desolate ancient dragon race's young master. No one can compare to him. Many of the experts' expressions did not change. They had already expected this and believed in Long Xiuwu's strength. In the end, everyone looked at Zhao Fu. Only he had not tested his bloodline. Zhao Fu hesitated because this test was not under his control. However, if he did not test, he would not be able to go through with the selection. Long Lang urged, "What are you waiting for? Quickly test your bloodline." Zhao Fu placed his hand on the crystal ball. Everyone stared at the crystal ball with wide eyes, wanting to see how high Zhao Fu's bloodline level was. The experts on the viewing platform became alert. They were also curious about Zhao Fu's bloodline level. As someone who had opened the 10,000 sword heart training for the third time, his bloodline level should not be low. However, the crystal ball quietly floated in mid-air and did not change at all. Many people were stunned. What's going on? Why isn't the crystal ball reacting? Could it be that the crystal ball is broken? The experts on the viewing platform were also confused. The crystal ball would show all bloodline levels, so why wasn't it showing? The black-robed elder asked, "Is there a problem with the dragon blood sphere?" The green-haired elder beside him frowned. "It's impossible for there to be a problem with the dragon blood sphere. This is the first time I've encountered such a situation." The dignified-looking elder said in a low voice, "There are two reasons for this. The first is that the bloodline is either too low-grade or too high-grade. The second is that the person testing is not from the desolate ancient dragon race." Chapter 2804. Book 1, Chapter 249. The silver-horned elder asked, "What do you think is the case?" The blue-clothed elder thought for a while before saying, "The first possibility is that his bloodline is too weak. It's almost impossible for it not to be detected. If his bloodline is too strong, it would be shocking. What kind of bloodline could the dragon blood orb not be able to detect? The second possibility is that he suddenly appeared in the primal chaos world. I suspected that he wasn't someone from the desolate ancient dragon race, but he has the desolate ancient demon dragon bloodline and obtained the demon ancestor dragon's legacy, so I didn't suspect anything." The blue-clothed elder said, I also feel that it's impossible that he isn't someone from the desolate ancient dragon race. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have such a pure bloodline and wouldn't have obtained the demon ancestor dragon's legacy." The dignified-looking elder said, "If he's someone from the desolate ancient dragon race, we can eliminate the second possibility. The first possibility is that he's too weak, so his bloodline grade can't be that low. Finally, perhaps his bloodline grade is too high." Just as he finished speaking, the crystal ball turned into a ray of light and shot into the sky. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the crystal ball exploded, revealing a massive rainbow-colored orb of light. It was like a real sun, giving off intense light that illuminated the entire world. The boundless aura made everyone feel as if they were countless ants looking up at the universe, and their souls were greatly impacted. It wasn't just the ordinary people who looked shocked. Many experts also had similar expressions. Their bloodlines had all submitted to this orb of light. Long Lang and the other geniuses looked at the rainbow-colored sun in shock. Long Voidless had already given them a big blow, but who would have thought that Zhao Fu would be even more terrifying and directly suppress Long Voidless? Long Voidless looked quite confused. He had never thought that Zhao Fu's bloodline grade would be so high. It was so high that even he felt a bit inferior. His bloodline was originally at the peak of the imperial bloodline, and after awakening the desolate ancient dragon star, It had reached the Saint bloodline, giving him the right to look down on everyone else. However, even his Saint bloodline was inferior to Zhao Fu's and had been completely suppressed. Just how high was Zhao Fu's bloodline grade? The massive orb of light in the sky gradually dissipated and the surroundings returned to normal. Is it the desolate ancient dragon ancestor? This bloodline is at the level of the primordial dragon ancestor. This is too terrifying. He directly crushed Void Dragon. I thought that Void Dragon's bloodline level was terrifying enough, but who would have thought that Zhao Fu would be even more terrifying? I also don't think there's a need for a competition. Just based on his bloodline, he should become the young master of the primordial dragon race. Just a child of origin appearing caused such a huge commotion. If another source dragon bloodline appears, the primordial world will be even more shaken. The silver-horned elder asked, could it be that his appearance has something to do with that child of origin? Too many things have happened recently. The number one evil immortal's descendant has appeared, the child of origin has appeared, and the heaven-enlightening sun has appeared in the other world. This makes me feel somewhat uneasy. The dignified elder said, there's no need for us to interfere. He naturally knows his own bloodline grade. He most likely has his own plans for participating in the primordial dragon race's young master selection. The azure-haired elder nodded. I never thought that we would have underestimated him. We'll leave everything to him. We won't interfere at all. The silver-horned elder looked at Zhao Fu and Dragon Void as he said, with such a high-grade bloodline, he's not any weaker than Dragon Void's primordial dragon star. Now, let's see if Dragon Void can use the primordial dragon star's power to suppress the demon dragon race's young master. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out, interrupting the countless people's conversations. At the center of the stage, countless rays of light shot out. The final selection had begun. After the first test of dragon power and the second test of bloodline, the dragon race's young masters all had the qualifications to become the primordial dragon race's young masters. The third test was to determine who would become the primordial dragon race's young master. Zhao Fu understood that some of his identity had been exposed, so he did not want to waste any more time. He calmly said to the dragon race's young masters, all of you, come at me together. Even though his tone was calm, it contained an invincible domineering aura that made everyone instinctively feel a trace of fear. The dragon race's young masters' expressions were quite unsightly. Facing such arrogant words, they did not feel angry. Instead, they felt even more nervous and fearful. To them, Zhao Fu was simply too terrifying. Dragon Void looked at Zhao Fu solemnly, and he did not feel as confident. In fact, he was not even sure if he could defeat Zhao Fu. Apex. Chapter 2805. Book 1, Chapter 250. Dragon Emblem said, I admit defeat. In the past, Long Huanling had wanted to become the young master of the desolate ancient dragon race and had made plans for it. However, there had been a major accident, and that accident was Zhao Fu. The strength and potential that Zhao Fu had displayed made her lose all hope of becoming the young master. Now, she did not want to fight, which was why she did not join the others. Void Dragon retreated to the side. He did not want to join the others. Zhao Fu looked at Long Huanling and said, I want a part of your desolate ancient god dragon legacy's power. I will repay you in the future. Long Huanling nodded. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and grabbed, and countless traces of black dragon chi wrapped around Long Huanling's body. Long Huanling's body gave off large amounts of white light, and a powerful dragon power spread out. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand. Roar! A dragon's roar sounded out as a white dragon image was pulled out. It struggled to escape, but it was still pulled into Zhao Fu's body by that power. Long Huanling's face was pale as she lay on the ground. Her aura was weak. Zhao Fu closed his eyes and absorbed this desolate ancient god-dragon power, and his body gave off a white light. There was also a powerful aura. Everyone was shocked. Although they were from the same clan, it was extremely difficult for them to absorb the inheritance of another clan. It was practically impossible. However, Zhao Fu had done it easily. Everyone was curious about what terrifying abilities Zhao Fu had. After absorbing the desolate ancient god-dragon power, Zhao Fu looked at the remaining young masters. Boom! Zhao Fu gave off a massive aura as he appeared in front of Long Lang. His hand was covered in black dragon chi as he grabbed towards Long Lang. Long Lang was greatly shocked and punched out with all his strength, bringing out countless purple lightning arcs. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as Long Lang was forced back by 10 or so meters. He only stopped when his feet touched the ground, and he looked at Zhao Fu seriously. The other young masters hurriedly scattered. Lung Tuo shouted, "Everyone, attack with all your might. Don't hesitate." Everyone understood how terrifying Zhao Fu was, so they immediately unleashed their full strength. Otherwise, they might not even have the strength to fight back. Long Tuo's body gave off large amounts of thick yellow aura, Long Feng's body gave off large amounts of sharp green aura, Long Qifeng's body gave off large amounts of cold air, and the ground beneath her feet started to freeze. Long Yin's body gave off flames, giving off a high temperature. All the young lords released their powerful auras and charged towards Zhao Fu from all directions. Zhao Fu stood where he was and smiled contemptuously. Roar! A massive dragon's roar sounded out as a black aura flame burst forth from Zhao Fu's body. His cloak fluttered and a shocking black shockwave spread out, causing the ground to crack. Many young masters who rushed over were pushed back by this black shockwave. Long Lang's body gave off large amounts of purple lightning arcs as he leapt into the sky. The lightning arcs on his fist formed a dragon head made of purple lightning, and he rushed towards Zhao Fu. He arrived in front of Zhao Fu and punched out with all his strength, seeming as if lightning could destroy gods and demons. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and grabbed Long Lang's fist. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as terrifying purple lightning arcs wreaked havoc around Zhao Fu, causing the ground to crack as a terrifying lightning aura spread out. Even though this attack was terrifying, it did not cause any damage to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu grabbed Long Lang's hand and pulled him back. Long Lang was given a big fright and immediately activated his defenses, causing many bolts of lightning to block in front of him. Bang! Zhao Fu punched Long Lang's stomach, sending him flying more than 100 meters away and causing him to cough up a large mouthful of blood. Long Yi suddenly appeared beside Zhao Fu, his palm giving off a large amount of metallic light as he slashed towards Zhao Fu like a blade of light. Zhao Fu vigorously waved his other hand, sending out a black ray of light that slammed into the saber of light, shattering it. Zhao Fu then twisted his body and kicked the dragon descendant away. Long Yi pressed his hands against the ground, causing a massive wave of energy to spread out. A few dragon claws made of mud stretched out from the ground and grabbed onto Zhao Fu's legs. Long Qifeng stood by the side and sent out a palm, causing a massive wave of cold air to surge towards Zhao Fu, causing the ground to freeze. Long Yin stood by the side and sent out a palm at the same time. A massive wave of flames ferociously surged towards Zhao Fu, causing the ground to be charred black due to the high temperature. The cold air and flames simultaneously hit Zhao Fu from both sides, inundating Zhao Fu's body. The collision of heat and cold gave off a shocking aura, causing white smoke to rise up. However, this was not the end. Long Feng pressed his palms together and a massive wind spun around Zhao Fu, fusing the cold air and flames into it. It formed an ice and fire vortex, giving off monstrous power as it attacked Zhao Fu. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying black energy exploded out, blasting away the massive ice and fire vortex. The massive ice, fire, and wind power quickly sent Long Feng, and Long Yin flying back. Zhao Fu stood in the middle, and was not injured at all. Everyone looked at Zhao Fu in shock. He was simply too powerful. Even if all of them attacked together, they would not have an advantage. Long Qinghong half squatted on the ground, and one of her hands turned into a green dragon claw. She grabbed at the ground, causing massive trees to grow up around Zhao Fu, and their trunks vigorously smashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu waved his hand, sending out a massive black arc of light that instantly cut down the trees. In the next second, Zhao Fu's body appeared in front of Long Qinghong, and he grabbed Long Qinghong's head with one hand, looking like a demon dragon's claw grabbing onto Long Qinghong's head. Long Qinghong immediately exploded out with power to resist. His body gave off an intense green light and countless sharp roots grew out of the ground, stabbing towards Zhao Fu. Boom! A massive wave of power exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, and that shocking power pressed down on the tree root. The massive power caused the tree roots to shatter and fly in all directions. Zhao Fu grabbed Long Qinghong's head, causing a pained expression to appear on Long Qinghong's face. Long Huiling hurriedly cried out, "Don't hurt him!" Zhao Fu looked at her and raised his hand, drawing out a green dragon from Long Qinghong's body and absorbing it into his body. Long Qinghong seemed to have been heavily injured and his aura became incredibly weak. He did not have the strength to continue fighting. He was the first young lord of the dragon race to be defeated by Zhao Fu. Swish! Zhao Fu's body immediately disappeared and appeared in front of the timid Long Sui. Long Sui looked at Zhao Fu in fear and immediately said, "Don't attack me, I'll hand over my legacy power." Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and grabbed at the air. A blue water dragon was drawn out of Long Sui's body and flew into Zhao Fu's body. Long Sui also became weak and did not have the strength to continue fighting. Chapter 2806. Book 1. 251. He was the second young lord to be defeated by Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's sharp gaze looked towards Long Lang. Long Lang's expression fell, and his body exploded out with a large amount of lightning, covering the surrounding 10 or so meters. The lightning caused the ground to crack open, giving off a massive sound. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and countless traces of black dragon chi formed a black dragon sword in front of his palm, giving off a shocking power. Xing! Zhao Fu pushed out with his hand, and the black dragon sword flew towards Long Lang. It left behind an afterimage, and it seemed unstoppable. Boom! Long Lang controlled the lightning around him to slash towards the incoming dragon sword, but they were instantly dispersed by the sword energy, and the dragon sword continued to fly towards Long Lang. Long Lang immediately dragon-formed, turning into a dragon man and giving off a powerful aura. Bang! Even though he had turned into a dragon man, Long Lang was still sent flying, and he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. However, he was not weak, and his constitution was quite powerful, so he still had the strength to fight. Long Tuo's hands turned into dragon claws, and he vigorously slammed them against the ground as he shouted, "Earth Dragon Prison!" The ground started to tremble, and stone pillars stretched out with Zhao Fu at the center, forming a circle. There were 8 stone pillars with dragons carved on them, and a massive gravitational force pressed down on Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu looked at Long Tuo and twisted his body. He easily broke free from the gravitational force. Long Tuo pressed his hands against the ground again. Rumble 12 stone pillars once again stretched out with Zhao Fu at the center, forming a second stone pillar circle outside the first one. The gravitational force became even stronger, pressing down on Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu forcefully took a step forward. He once again broke free from the gravitational force. Long Tuo's expression was unsightly, and an even greater aura flame ignited around his body. He pressed against the ground with all his strength, and a massive wave of power spread out. Rumble! A massive explosion sounded out as 24 stone pillars with dragons engraved on them stretched out, forming a third ring of stone pillars. An even more terrifying pressure weighed down on Zhao Fu's body, causing the air to seem to freeze. The dragon descendant flew into the sky and gave off boundless metallic light, turning into a massive metallic dragon saber. It gave off massive power as it slashed towards Zhao Fu, who was at the center of the stone pillar. It seemed to be able to destroy the ground, and its power was incredibly terrifying. One of Zhao Fu's hands turned into a black dragon claw as he punched the ground. A powerful force instantly spread out, causing the ground within a radius of several hundred meters to shatter. The gravitational force that was pressing down on Zhao Fu's body also instantly dissipated. At this time, the dragon descendant turned into a huge dragon blade and chopped down towards Zhao Fu from the sky. A huge wave of black dragon chi surged out from Zhao Fu's body, forming a huge black semicircle cover, blocking the incoming dragon saber. Roar! Long Lang gave off a massive dragon roar as his body gave off countless traces of purple lightning, forming an enormous ball of lightning. It gave off a destructive aura that could cause people's hairs to stand on end. Boom! The ball of lightning flew towards Zhao Fu and caused a massive explosion, causing countless massive arcs of lightning to strike the defensive barrier. Long Qifeng and Long Yinyi opened their mouths and breathed out massive flames and icy currents, attacking towards Zhao Fu. The dragon descendant stretched out a hand, causing countless shattered boulders to fly up, bringing with them waves of power as they shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's body was inundated by the attacks. Massive sounds continuously sounded out, and the terrifying aura caused people to feel despair. The young masters continuously attacked, hoping that they could injure Zhao Fu. After a while, the young masters stopped to catch their breath. They had used up a large amount of energy in their attacks. The light mist dissipated, revealing Zhao Fu's body, but he was not injured at all. The young masters' expressions became quite unsightly. They had not been able to injure Zhao Fu even after going all out with their attacks? Long Sui inwardly rejoiced. Even though it was shameful to admit defeat, this demon dragon young master was an undefeatable existence, and stubbornly staying to fight was an idiotic action. Long Qinghong's expression was serious. He had personally experienced Zhao Fu's power, and he had already developed a trace of fear towards Zhao Fu. Long Huiling's expression did not change, as if he had already expected this. Long Shiwu seriously observed Zhao Fu, wanting to understand Zhao Fu better before the final battle. Long Yinyi's expression was unsightly as she looked at Long Qifeng and called out, "Let's use our final move." Long Qifeng nodded seriously. Roar! Roar! Two massive dragon roars sounded out as Long Yinyi turned into a massive fire dragon, while Long Qifeng turned into a massive ice dragon, hovering in the sky. The fire dragon gave off massive flames, causing half of the ancestral dragon cave to turn fiery red. The immense heat seemed to be able to melt steel, and the people in the distance could feel this heat, causing their bodies to continuously sweat. The ice dragon gave off large amounts of chilling aura, causing half of the ancestral dragon cave to become ice red. Countless traces of chilling aura covered the ground, and the people in the distance were affected, causing them to shiver. The two dragons formed two worlds, one of which was a world of fire and the other of which was a world of ice. The auras of ice and fire caused people to feel terror, and their bodies became uncomfortable under the hot and cold auras. This scene was quite shocking. Boom! The fire dragon and ice dragon brought with them the power of the two worlds as they smashed towards Zhao Fu. Everything in the surroundings collapsed, and it seemed as if it was going to destroy the heavens and earth. It was incredibly terrifying, and a shocking shockwave spread out. Zhao Fu stretched out his hands, and they gave off countless traces of black demonic qi, which turned into two demon dragons that quickly grew and rushed towards the fire dragon and ice dragon. The ice dragon and fire dragon charged towards the demon dragon, and they charged towards the two demon dragons with immense power. The two demon dragons ferociously gave off large amounts of demonic qi and shot towards the fire and ice dragons. They were like two demon dragon spears as they shot into the fire and ice worlds and bit the fire and ice dragons, causing the two dragons to howl in pain. The demon dragon that bit the ice dragon and fire dragon wantonly devoured their power. The ice dragon and fire dragon struggled in pain, but they could not break free. Their power continued to weaken, and finally, the ice dragon and fire dragon disappeared. The ice dragon and fire dragon fell from the sky, smashing two large craters in the ground. Their legacy power had been absorbed by Zhao Fu, and their bodies had been quite injured. Now they did not even have the strength to crawl on the ground. Blood flowed from the corners of their mouths, and they looked at Zhao Fu in fear. If it wasn't for Zhao Fu holding back, they would have been devoured alive. This young Lord Demon Dragon was simply too abnormal, and they were not a match for him at all. Even if they worked together, it would be useless. Now 2 more dragons had been defeated, and there were only 4 left. Zhao Fu gave a faint smile as he looked at the remaining 4 people. The 4 people's expressions were quite unsightly, and they did not dare to make the first move. Now there were only 4 of them, and it seemed that they had no hope of defeating Zhao Fu. Chapter 2807. Book 1. Chapter 252. Roar! 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 4 massive dragons' roars sounded out as the 4 of them turned into 4 massive divine dragons. One gave off many violet arcs of lightning, one gave off a large amount of earth-colored aura, one gave off an azure wind, and one gave off a metallic light. 4 powerful auras wreaked havoc on the battlefield, making everyone feel as if they were standing in front of an abyss, causing them to feel terror. Boom! The lightning dragon opened its mouth and spat out a massive pillar of lightning, which gave off a terrifying aura as it blasted towards Zhao Fu incredibly quickly. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and turned it into a demon dragon claw. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the massive pillar of lightning smashed into Zhao Fu's hand with shocking power. Arcs of lightning spread out around Zhao Fu, lighting up the surroundings. Zhao Fu blocked the lightning dragon's attack with a single hand. Boom! The earth dragon gave off immense power as it suddenly smashed towards Zhao Fu. Its terrifying power could collapse a large mountain. Zhao Fu vigorously punched out, bringing with it a ferocious force. Bang! The fist and earth dragon collided, causing a massive gale to blow out. The ground instantly cracked, and in the end, the massive earth dragon was sent flying. Roar! A massive dragon's roar sounded out as a wind dragon flew into the sky, giving off a large amount of azure light, causing half the sky to turn azure. The surroundings were densely packed with azure wind blades, giving off incredibly sharp auras as they slashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at the wind blades that covered the heavens and earth as he opened his mouth and shot out a black beam of light, which contained terrifying demon dragon power as it shot towards the countless wind blades. Bang! The azure light barrier was pierced by the black beam of light, and the wind dragon in the sky was sent flying by the black beam of light. The countless azure wind blades turned into an azure aura and dissipated. A metal dragon appeared behind Zhao Fu and raised its massive dragon claw as it slammed towards Zhao Fu. The power it contained could shatter the ground. Zhao Fu raised a hand to cover his head. When the dragon claw struck Zhao Fu's body, the ground beneath Zhao Fu's feet shattered, but Zhao Fu was not injured at all. His body released a large amount of demonic chi and shot towards the metal dragon, turning into a black rope that wrapped around the metal dragon's body. The metal dragon was given a big fright and immediately flew into the sky. However, the black ropes binding him made it so that he could not fly, and he immediately started to struggle. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a condescending smile as he appeared above the metal dragon's head and stomped down. Boom! The huge metal dragon was stomped on the ground, creating another huge crater. Countless rocks flew out and smoke and dust filled the air. Zhao Fu extended his hand and grasped downward. A massive force pulled out a metallic dragon phantom and absorbed it into his body. That metal was heavily injured, its aura weak as it lay on the ground, without the strength to fight. The remaining 3 dragons looked at Zhao Fu, who was standing on the metal dragon's head, with ugly expressions. Roar! The lightning dragon gave a heaven-shaking roar and countless bolts of violet lightning appeared, covering the surrounding thousands of meters and giving off terrifying lightning power. The lightning dragon used all of its strength to rush at Zhao Fu, seeming like it was punishing the heavens and earth. Zhao Fu stretched out a dragon claw, which was surrounded by countless traces of demonic qi, and pressed downwards. Boom! A massive demon dragon claw appeared in the air and gave off boundless demonic might as it pressed the lightning dragon's body against the ground. Countless bolts of lightning wreaked havoc, causing cracks to appear in the ground. The lightning power could cause people's hairs to stand on end. Zhao Fu's body leapt up and disappeared, appearing above the lightning dragon's head. The lightning dragon coughed up a mouthful of blood and looked at Zhao Fu with an unwilling expression. Zhao Fu condescendingly laughed and grabbed out with his hand. A lightning dragon phantom was pulled out and fused into Zhao Fu's body. The lightning dragon became weak and no longer had the strength to fight. Zhao Fu's sharp gaze looked at the earth dragon. The earth dragon took a step back in fear, seeming to instinctively do so. Zhao Fu's body turned into an afterimage as he charged at the earth dragon. The earth dragon gave off a large amount of yellow aura in fear, which flooded out in all directions. The ground trembled as a semicircular barrier of earth gave off a powerful and heavy aura. Zhao Fu's body gave off a demonic light and gave off a powerful aura as he quickly shot forwards. Bang! 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 Massive sounds rang out as Zhao Fu shot out like an arrow, quickly piercing through the barriers and causing countless chunks of earth to fly everywhere. Zhao Fu pierced through all of the barriers and appeared in front of the earth dragon. The earth dragon opened its mouth and ferociously bit at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu swung his dragon claw, sending out 5 massive black arcs of light that slashed at the earth dragon's head, forcing it back 3 or 4 steps. The earth dragon still wanted to attack. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and grabbed at the air, and a massive force grabbed the earthen dragon. The massive force caused the earthen dragon to feel immense pain, and it roared. Its body violently struggled, but it was unable to break free from that formless hand. Zhao Fu vigorously gripped with his hand and a yellow dragon phantom came out of the earth dragon's body before being absorbed by Zhao Fu, causing the earth dragon to immediately become powerless. After dealing with this earth dragon, there was still a wind dragon left. Zhao Fu looked at the wind dragon. The wind dragon looked at Zhao Fu in fear. This demon dragon young master was so powerful that it was terrifying. Even the 8 young masters working together would not be a match for him. Zhao Fu prepared to attack. The wind dragon said, "I'm willing to hand over the wind dragon legacy power within my body. There's no need to continue fighting. Now that the situation could not be changed, continuing to fight would only cause humiliation." As such, the wind dragon did not continue to fight. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a satisfied smile and grabbed at the air. The wind dragon felt a suction force pull out his legacy power, and a wind dragon phantom flew out and quickly flew into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu closed his eyes. Now that he had obtained the 8 young masters' legacy power, he needed to properly digest it. Many rainbow-colored lights and streams of dragon power spread out from Zhao Fu's body, and countless people felt a massive pressure. The bloodlines within their bodies started to become afraid, and they all looked shocked. Zhao Fu sensed the massive dragon power within his body and gave a smile. Finally, his gaze fell on Dragon Void's body. Now, he only had his dragon power left. As long as he absorbed his dragon power, even if he did not obtain the dragon ancestor's power, he would obtain a power similar to the dragon ancestor's power, just much weaker. After all, this was the dragon ancestor's power fused from the 11 bloodlines' legacy power, so there were still some differences between it and the true dragon ancestor's power. Facing Zhao Fu's gaze, Dragon Void's expression became serious. Now, it was time to decide who would become the desolate ancient dragon clan's young master. He did not have full confidence in this battle, and the power that Zhao Fu had displayed gave him an unfathomable feeling. Chapter 2808, Book 1, Chapter 253, Battle. Zhao Fu said, "Let's begin." Void nodded. The two of them came to the other side. Because of the battle just now, there was much damage. Everyone became even more excited. They had been looking forward to this battle for a long time, and both of them were incredibly powerful. One had become the master of 10,000 swords, while the other had the desolate ancient dragon star. Both of them would definitely have a world-shaking battle, and no one knew who would become the desolate ancient dragon race's young lord. Who do you think will become the desolate dragon young master and lead the entire desolate dragon race? Of course it's that demon dragon young master. Everyone has seen his strength. Even the 8 young masters combined aren't his match. That's right. I also think that demon dragon young master will become the desolate dragon young master. Not only is he strong, but his bloodline is also terrifyingly high. Is that so? I think that Void will become the dragon young master. He has the desolate dragon star and is blessed by the heavens. Moreover, who has seen Void's strength before? I also think that Void will become the dragon young master. I believe in the power of the desolate dragon star. It is our race's fate star. Perhaps it can suppress demon dragon young master's bloodline. Yes, the desolate dragon star does have the ability to suppress bloodlines. As long as one belongs to the desolate dragon race, he will definitely be suppressed. Now, let's see whether demon dragon young master's bloodline is stronger or Void's desolate dragon star is stronger. Many experts of the dragon race had serious expressions as they looked at Zhao Fu and Void. They were also very interested in this battle. Boom! An explosion sounded out. Zhao Fu understood how strong Void was. He directly released the demon dragon's immense power. A demonic flame ignited on Zhao Fu's body, and terrifying demonic might spread out like a gale. Boom! Void also understood how strong Zhao Fu was. He released the power of a sky dragon. Crystal flames ignited on his body, and a powerful draconic might spread out. The demonic energy emitted by one person covered half of the dragon cave, and there was a faint image of a domineering demonic dragon inside. The crystal dragon energy emitted by another person also covered half of the dragon cave, and there was a faint image of a powerful and noble crystal dragon. 2 terrifying auras collided, causing shockwaves to spread out in all directions. Just the auras that the two of them were giving off were enough to cause the surrounding area to tremble. It was several times scarier than the battle between the 8 bloodline young masters. Xiao! The sound of the air being torn rang out as Zhao Fu and Dragon Void shot towards each other like 2 streaks of light. Zhao Fu and Dragon Void waved their fists and attacked each other with frightening strength. The dragon race's body was the strongest, so it could be said that this was a battle of physical strength. Bang bang bang, huge explosions sounded out as the terrifying forces continuously collided with each other. The ground around them continuously cracked open, creating large craters. Rocks flew everywhere and a violent gale wreaked havoc. Bang! Zhao Fu's fist slammed into Void Dragon's chest, causing Void Dragon's body to fly back dozens of meters before stopping. Void stomped on the ground, causing the ground to crack as his body shot towards Zhao Fu like a cannonball. Looking at the incoming Dragon Void, Zhao Fu vigorously punched out, and a black fist energy containing terrifying power blasted towards Dragon Void, causing the ground to continuously crack. Void's fist destroyed the incoming fist energy and his body continued to speed up. He suddenly disappeared and appeared behind Zhao Fu in the next second. His fists contained immense power as they punched towards Zhao Fu's back, and a crystalline energy flowed out. Zhao Fu's expression fell, and a black dragon inscription barrier immediately appeared, covering Zhao Fu's body. Bang! The black dragon inscription barrier instantly shattered, and the crystalline energy caused Zhao Fu's body to fly backwards, leaving a wide crack in the ground. Zhao Fu waved his hand, destroying that energy, and his body also stopped. Void was somewhat shocked. Such a terrifying attack had not caused much damage to Zhao Fu. This demon dragon young lord's physique was indeed more terrifying than his. Zhao Fu looked at Void and his gaze became cold. His hands turned into demon dragon claws, and he waved them forwards. 10 black arcs of light containing immense power slashed towards Void. Void stood in his original position, and a crystal wall appeared in front of him. The shocking black arcs of light slashed against the crystal wall, causing it to shatter. Zhao Fu's body appeared behind the crystal wall, and he punched out with all his strength. The terrifying force seemed to be able to destroy everything in its surroundings. Void's other hand turned into a crystalline dragon claw, and he also punched out with all his strength, causing a massive force to surge forwards. Bang! A loud sound rang out and the two fists collided. The surrounding space cracked, and the terrifying aura caused everyone to tremble. Void took 3 steps back, and Zhao Fu took 2 steps back. Zhao Fu wanted to continue attacking. Void's eyes narrowed, and 2 slender crystalline beams shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu immediately dodged to the side, and the crystalline beams landed on the ground, instantly turning it into crystals. Void's eyes looked towards Zhao Fu, and 2 more crystalline beams shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu immediately used his defensive barrier to block, and the crystalline beams passed through Zhao Fu's barrier. Not only did the barrier start to crystallize, but Zhao Fu's body also started to crystallize. Zhao Fu could only dodge to the side. Void's eyes shot out 2 more crystalline beams. Zhao Fu opened his mouth, and a black beam of light shot out with immense power. Bang! The 2 of them clashed, causing an explosion, and light scattered in all directions. Zhao Fu's body continued to charge towards Void. Void also opened his mouth and spat out a crystalline energy, causing the ground and space to crystallize at an extremely fast speed. Zhao Fu hurriedly retreated. Void didn't retreat, but instead charged towards Zhao Fu. A dragon claw gave off a crystalline light, and it grabbed towards Zhao Fu's chest. Zhao Fu punched forwards. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, and both of them retreated by 5 or 6 meters. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and demonic energy appeared, turning into a black dragon that quickly grew and charged towards Void. Void didn't move, and he once again spat out a crystalline energy that floated forwards. The surroundings quickly crystallized, and it looked extremely shocking. If an ordinary person didn't even have the chance to react, they would have turned into a crystal statue. The black dragon didn't have any intention of dodging, and its body gave off a large amount of black light as it ferociously charged towards Void. Bang! The black dragon sent Void flying, and it used a black light to block the crystalline energy. Although the surroundings had crystallized, it seemed to have wrapped around the black dragon. Void coughed up a mouthful of blood, and he looked at Zhao Fu with a serious expression. He had to use even greater power to defeat Zhao Fu. Peak. Chapter 2809. Book 1, Chapter 254, Seal. Roar! Dragon Void raised its head and gave a massive roar as a powerful aura spread out. Crystal scales started to grow on its body, and it finally turned into a tall and beautiful crystal dragon person. Zhao Fu quickly rushed towards Dragon Void. Dragon Void grabbed at the air, and the area around Zhao Fu started to crystallize and quickly spread towards Zhao Fu. It was as if there were 2 hemispheres that were about to form. Zhao Fu exploded out with a powerful aura and pushed outwards with both hands, wanting to break free from the crystal ball. Dragon Void grabbed at the air again, and the crystal ball closed with great power, trapping Zhao Fu within it. The crystal ball continued to quickly crystallize and spread towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu released a black dragon inscription barrier and a powerful wave of dragon power, blocking the corrosion of the dragon power. Dragon Void stretched out its claws and suddenly raised them upwards. The massive crystal ball flew into the sky and gave off an intense crystal light. Bang! The crystal ball violently exploded, and a shocking power spread out, causing countless crystals to shoot in all directions. Zhao Fu was slightly injured and he stood in the sky. Dragon Void looked at Zhao Fu in the sky seriously. This was only a light injury? Zhao Fu, who was standing in the sky, slapped down towards Dragon Void with a dragon claw, and a massive wave of black dragon power covered the sky as it shot towards Dragon Void. Dragon Void's claws tore at the air, tearing apart the black dragon power that covered the sky. However, at that moment, the 5 demon dragon heads gave off terrifying power and rushed towards Dragon Void. It was one of Zhao Fu's arms that had grown 5 dragon heads. Dragon Void did not panic, and a crystalline light shot out from his mouth, bringing with it immense power as it shot towards the 5 dragon heads. Bang! The 2 waves of power collided and a shocking shock wave spread out. The light continuously smashed into the 5 demon dragon heads, and the 5 demon dragon heads gave off black demonic chi to resist the corrosion of the crystal light. Suddenly, the 5 dragon heads circled around the crystal light and continued to bite at nothingness. Dragon Void punched out a few times, sending the 4 dragon heads flying. However, one of the demon dragon heads managed to bite Dragon Void's leg. Dragon Void's entire body was crystallized, making it abnormally tough. The sharp dragon teeth only managed to bite in a little. Bang! The dragon beast swung its arm and flung Void away. Void's body smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. Boom, boom, boom. The 5 demon dragon heads opened their mouths and 5 black beams of light containing massive power shot towards Dragon Void. They were incredibly fast and gave off shocking sounds. Bang, 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 numerous explosions sounded out as the 5 black beams of light shot onto the ground, causing massive explosions. Countless black rays of light spread out as sand and gravel spread out. But after the ripples spread out, there was no sign of emptiness. Zhao Fu turned his head and saw that Void's dragon claw had become huge and was grabbing towards him with terrifying strength. Roar! A huge black dragon head grew out from Zhao Fu's back and charged towards Long Su with a ferocious aura. Pooh! Dragon Void's dragon claw grabbed onto the black dragon's head, and 5 crystal arcs of light tore the black dragon's head apart. The dragon claw followed the black dragon's body and went for Zhao Fu's back. Zhao Fu's body bowed and 2 more black dragons grew out from Zhao Fu's back. They brought with them a powerful aura and bit towards Dragon Void from both sides. Dragon Void snorted coldly and its body emitted a dazzling crystal light. It was like a dragon claw formed from light. It instantly grabbed towards Zhao Fu and tore away the dragon heads. Zhao Fu's back was hit by a huge force and his body rapidly fell to the ground. Bang! Zhao Fu's body landed heavily on the ground, causing the ground within a 10-meter radius to collapse. In the sky, Dragon Void gave off shocking power as it continued to attack Zhao Fu, leaving behind a crystalline ray of light. Zhao Fu stood up from the ground and a powerful dragon force spread out. Zhao Fu's entire body turned into a black dragon man. He opened up a dragon claw that gave off an intense black light. Bang! The 2 dragon claws clashed with a powerful force and gave off a loud sound. Both of their bodies flew back more than 10 meters. In the next second, both of their bodies disappeared and reappeared in the middle. Dragon Void's claw clawed towards Zhao Fu's chest. Zhao Fu leaned to the side and punched towards Dragon Void's abdomen. Dragon Void also dodged to the side and avoided Zhao Fu's attack. Dragon Void then swung its dragon tail towards Zhao Fu with a powerful force. Zhao Fu blocked with both hands in front of him and the crystal dragon tail forced Zhao Fu back 4 or 5 steps. Dragon Void's body continued to pounce towards Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu also rushed up. Dragon Void's claw slammed into Zhao Fu's chest. Zhao Fu allowed it to attack for a while, but he continued to punch with all his strength, which was imbued with dragon force, into Dragon Void's chest. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as Dragon Void was sent flying and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Dragon Void's eyes coldly looked at Zhao Fu, and he wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth, as he slammed his claw onto the ground. Swish, 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 countless sharp crystal spikes shot out from the ground, bringing with them immense force as they shot towards Zhao Fu. They were incredibly fast and covered the surrounding 1,000 meters. Zhao Fu immediately flew into the sky, but the crystal spikes quickly grew and chased after Zhao Fu. Boom! 2 crystal rays of light shot out from Dragon Void's eyes, giving off immense power as they shot towards Zhao Fu, bringing with them a gust of wind. At this moment of danger, Zhao Fu spread out his hands and a demon dragon spiraled around Zhao Fu's body, giving off a powerful demonic might. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the 2 beams of light and crystal spikes simultaneously hit Zhao Fu, resulting in an intense explosion. Countless rays of light and shards scattered in all directions. Ripples spread out and the demon dragon next to Zhao Fu dissipated, but Zhao Fu was not injured at all. Zhao Fu looked at Dragon Void and a shocking demonic aura spread out. Countless demon dragons rushed out from Zhao Fu's body, giving off a ferocious aura as they rushed towards Dragon Void like a massive black river. Dragon Void put his claws together and raised them. Countless crystals condensed into a 6-meter-long crystal sword that gave off a terrifying dragon's power. Boom! The crystal sword slashed forwards, and a massive crystal sword light containing immense power slashed towards the Black River. With a single slash, the Black River was split apart and everything around it turned into crystals. Suddenly, a huge black dragon sprang out of the ground and swallowed Dragon Nothingness with its huge maw. Everyone was shocked. Dragon Void had been eaten just like that? The black dragon flew in the sky and gave off boundless demonic light and a massive aura as it refined Dragon's Nothingness. Zhao Fu stretched out a dragon claw, increasing the black dragon's power. Chapter 28:10. Book 1, Chapter 255. End of Book 1. Within the black dragon's stomach, Dragon Void gave off a crystalline light to protect his body, but the demonic energy continuously corroded him, causing his body to start to turn into a black crystal. Roar! Dragon Nothingness roared out and released all of his power. Countless crystalline lights shot out and pierced through the black dragon's body, causing his stomach to burst open. The black dragon also turned into countless traces of black dragon chi and dissipated. Zhao Fu opened his mouth and a black beam of light containing immense power shot towards Dragon Void incredibly quickly. Dragon Void also opened his mouth and shot out a crystalline beam of light containing shocking power towards Zhao Fu. Bang! The 2 beams of light collided in midair and a massive shockwave spread out like a wild gale. Zhao Fu looked forwards and the black beam of light in his mouth became even more intense and shot towards Dragon Void with even greater power. Dragon Void's beam of light also became even more intense and gave off shocking power. The 2 beams of light continuously collided in the sky and powerful shockwaves spread out, causing the heavens and earth to change color. The winds and clouds swirled and the terrifying aura caused everyone's bodies to feel as if they had fallen into icy water, causing them to tremble. Bang! In the end, Zhao Fu's power was a bit stronger and the massive black beam of light hit Dragon Void's body, sending it flying. Dragon Void coughed up a large mouthful of blood and his body was covered with blood. His injuries were quite severe. Zhao Fu's body rushed towards Dragon Void. Boom! Dragon Void turned into a divine dragon made of crystals and his body gave off a crystalline light, giving off an incredibly powerful aura. Boom! Dragon Void spat out a massive crystalline beam of light that contained destructive power towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's body gave off boundless demonic light and a few dragon inscription barriers appeared, protecting Zhao Fu's body. Bang! Zhao Fu's body was sent flying by the beam of light and only stopped after flying quite a distance. A trace of blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. He had suffered some injuries. The crystal dragon that Dragon Void had turned into quickly rushed towards Zhao Fu, its claws containing terrifying power as they grabbed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu punched forward. Dragon claws collided with dragon claws. Their strength was about the same. The crystal dragon clawed at Zhao Fu again. Zhao Fu dodged and dodged the claw. The crystal dragon rushed down towards Zhao Fu. The huge dragon head smashed into Zhao Fu's body, knocking Zhao Fu's body down from the sky, creating a crater. The crystal dragon continued to dive downward with a powerful aura. Zhao Fu stood up from the ground and a huge amount of black demonic qi surged out from Zhao Fu's body. It was like a huge black pillar of qi smashing towards the crystal dragon. The crystal dragon did not have any intention of dodging. It directly collided with the huge black pillar with a powerful force. The black pillar dispersed with one strike, but the black aura did not dissipate. Instead, it continued to surge towards the crystal dragon's body, forming black ropes that wrapped around the crystal dragon's body. The crystal dragon's expression changed, and it vigorously struggled. Its massive power broke a few of the black ropes, but there were still many that it could not break free from. Zhao Fu gave a cold smile as he raised his hand and pressed down. A massive force pulled the black ropes and smashed the crystal dragon's body down. The crystal dragon smashed into the ground, causing the ground to violently tremble. Countless sand and stones were blasted away like shock waves, and a massive hole appeared in the ground. Blood flowed out of the crystal dragon's mouth as it madly struggled. It broke free from the black ropes and gave off a powerful aura as it smashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu also gave off a powerful force as he smashed forwards. Bang! Zhao Fu's body was knocked back by the massive crystal dragon, and the ground continuously cracked. The crystal dragon's power was still quite terrifying. Massive waves of demonic qi flowed out of Zhao Fu's body, forming a massive demon dragon's head, and only then was it able to block the crystal dragon's attack. The crystal dragon vigorously swung its claws, sending out 5 massive arcs of light that ferociously crushed the black dragon's head, causing it to turn into countless traces of black aura and dissipate. The crystal dragon then raised its claws and slammed them towards Zhao Fu with massive power. Zhao Fu quickly dodged to the side, and the crystal dragon's claws slammed into the ground, leaving behind a massive dragon claw print and causing the ground to violently tremble. The crystal dragon raised its other claw and slammed it towards Zhao Fu with great power. Zhao Fu once again dodged, and a few massive demon dragons flew out from Zhao Fu's body, wanting to bite the crystal dragon's body. The crystal dragon roared in pain and flung away the black dragon that was biting it. The black dragon then continued to rush towards dragon nothingness. The crystal dragon spat out a terrifying crystal-colored beam of light that swept to the side. The crystal-colored beam of light was incredibly terrifying, and it instantly split apart the black dragon's bodies. The black dragons turned into countless traces of black aura and dissipated. Bang! At that moment, a massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu vigorously punched the crystal dragon's abdomen. The massive power sent the crystal dragon flying into the sky. The crystal dragon opened its mouth in anger and pain, and a crystal-colored beam of light ferociously shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu immediately dodged to the side, but the crystal dragon vigorously slammed down with its claws, smashing Zhao Fu into the ground. The ground cracked open, and Zhao Fu coughed up a mouthful of blood. The crystal dragon raised its other dragon claw and slapped down with great force. Zhao Fu did not hesitate, and his body gave off boundless black light as he turned into a massive demon dragon. He gave off powerful dragon power as he sent the crystal dragon flying, resulting in a massive explosion. Seeing that Zhao Fu had also become a demon dragon, The crystal dragon gave off great power as it rushed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu also gave off a powerful aura as he rushed towards the crystal dragon. The crystal dragon grabbed at Zhao Fu with one claw, and Zhao Fu grabbed at the crystal dragon. The two dragon claws collided, and the crystal dragon bit towards Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu slapped the crystal dragon down with one claw and bit the crystal dragon's body. The crystal dragon struggled with all its might, broke free, and smashed into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu's dragon claws gave off great power as they grabbed at the crystal dragon's body, sending it flying. He then spat out a black beam of light that shot out with great power, hitting the crystal dragon's body. An explosion sounded out as the crystal dragon was sent flying. The crystal dragon was slightly injured, and it furiously spat out a crystal-colored beam of light that quickly shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu dodged to the side, dodging the crystal beam of light. The crystal dragon immediately spat out another beam of light, and Zhao Fu once again dodged. He also spat out a black beam of light that quickly shot towards the crystal dragon, and the crystal dragon also dodged. Both sides continuously spat out black beams of light in the sky. Either the crystal dragon was sent flying by the black beam of light, or the black dragon was sent flying by the crystal beam of light. Overall, the black dragon had a greater advantage, and its injuries were lighter, and its recovery speed was faster than the crystal dragon's. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.